these suggestions go forward.
I'm President, members of the board, supervisors, and trustee Wisdom on the ends. I can't speak to all the discussions to each of the workshops. I can only speak to the one that I was at. It was talks about again the benefits or potential benefits as well as the potential challenges in terms of impact to the business community. I think that would fall along the lines of the impact of child care and whatnot. So in that regard, maybe it was brought up, but not in a broad sense, at least.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bustamante Adams. Trustee Brooks.
Thank you, Madam President. So I have been watching this play out. I know when this first started, I did reach out to several state board members. I did tell them there were limited options for the district to meet transportation issues. I also did share concerns that some of the ways in which the district would meet this would be negatively impacted. It would negatively impact families and students. So they are aware of the fact that transportation is a problem. The way that other districts have addressed transportation problems is they just removed it. And we certainly don't want to do that. There is serious equity concerns. We cannot get to a point where people do not have equal opportunity and access to education. So I am very firm in that. It's very clear some of these are costly measures. It's also clear that no one's giving us money for them. So that leaves us with the other options that do not cost money. That's where we are. And the only way that you can really address this is eliminating transportation options, increasing walk zones, or flipping schedules around. I'm hopeful that the state recognizes that it's a lot more challenging than I think they estimated, and that they listen to the concerns that families will have when these high schoolers get out of school after their elementary school students and they don't have any childcare, because that's going to be a whole lot of kids that don't have childcare. I appreciate the presentation, you throwing it together, and certainly I know that you're not responsible, but I think it's very important that we're honest and that we're very direct and clear about the implications this has and the potential harm to families and students. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brooks. I have a couple of questions myself. I'd like to know, Dr. Jara, maybe you can speak to this. What additional impacts that have not already been discussed could a formal approval or a requirement of CCSD to adjust start times for students have on additional operations of the school district?
Thank you, Madam President, Superintendent Jara. If I could turn it over, because one of the things that, and I know Mr. Casey also oversees food service. I don't know. I'd like to see if there's any concerns there. But one of the things I know there was a recommendation that was floated out to look at and moving elementary school to a 7 a.m. start time or 8. That is putting our youngest children on bus stops, arriving at bus stops way too early, which concerns me tremendously. But if Mr. Casey, if you can speak to, are there any other concerns that that we haven't talked about? We talked about the child care, the high school kids who take care of the younger kids who go home. They have to be home to take care of the younger kid, brother siblings. How about with the food insecurity and that was brought up? Anything there, Mr. Casey, that I missed around when do we serve meals under the federal guidelines?
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent John. In terms of the meal times when we start meals, we should be fine as far as breakfast service. The biggest or the bigger concern with breakfast service is if we do start later, our participation rate for breakfast service most likely will go down. That impacts our reimbursement rate. Right now, we are 100% CEP, and that's due to our ability to have a high participation rate. If that were to diminish significantly, that could potentially jeopardize our ability to maintain 100% CEP, meaning free meals for everybody.
And 100% CEP means what, for the public, Mr. Casey, I think, so they all understand that, where everybody, eats breakfast and lunch.
Yes, breakfast and lunch are free.
Thank you.
I just also note, if elementary were to shift to a later start time, it could potentially impact our instructional or our teachers that want to pursue professional development. So apparently, in terms of the availability in the afternoon, it could preclude them from pursuing those opportunities. So that's another unforeseen, consequence of it.
Sounds like there are a lot of things to consider. That a lot of items that will be impacted by a decision to change start times. Even if there is a waiver involved, it is becoming more and more apparent that not only is there a public concern from our families, specifically of families who have messaged the district in overwhelming amounts for the last week and a half about this item, sharing their concern and their desire not to have any changes to the current scheduling systems. There are operational impacts and costs associated with the implementation of such policy, no matter when it takes place, whether it's a phased approach or an approach that takes in immediately. I want to clarify something that I believe I heard and maybe has already been discussed. I want to narrow this down. What percentage of high schools in Clark County School District begin after 8 a.m.? Mr. Casey?
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Jarrett, and President Garcia Miles, the majority of our high schools do start prior to 8 a.m. They are the elements here.
So majority of our schools start. 100% of our high schools. 100% of our high schools starts before 8 a.m. There currently are no high schools that start after 8 a.m.
To Executive Director of Transportation speak to that. Okay.
So this.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, President Garcia Morales. Currently, there are no high schools. We do have one high school, it's Desert Rose, but they do not receive transportation services.
Very good.
And I'm sorry, my apology. And we do have academic centers. They do start currently later than they're the only ones, the academic centers, which are alternative education sites for students.
Another question related to transportation and the impacts of a potential change like this. What Mr. Casey, Ms. Bogus, Dr. Dara, can you please give us an example of the tiered transportation approach? There seems to be an outcry about this policy is not there's some confusion in terms of this policy. This draft regulation is before us that has a lot of concern around only focusing on a specific group. Why would these type of impacts, what other impacts would it have? I think it's gonna need some clarity, or maybe if you can walk us through what a route would look like for one bus, and why it can't only, the issue doesn't only impact high schools. So for example, in District C, I'd love to know if there are, I mean, in any district, right? But I'm especially concerned about our students in areas of high need. What does one bus, how many routes, how many stops does it have? And does it only stop at high schools or only stop at elementary schools? To give me a range, an example.
Trustee Morales, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, President Garcia Morales. I'm going to give you a very rudimentary, very simplistic and ideal bus route. So a bus driver will come in approximately about 5:30, pre-trip a bus, which is by federal law. We start our routes about 5:45, going out to the bus stops. On the first tier, which is the high school tier, we are trying to get students to school 20 minutes before the bell time so that they can get breakfast and have access to food, teachers, get there on time. So the drop off would be approximately 6:40. So it is plausible that, and it happens that there are bus stops as early as 5:55, 5:50, 6:10, 6:15. So if we were to invert tiers, that is also something to consider for elementary students. After that, the 6:40 drop off or 7 o'clock bell, they will go back out into, and we try to cluster them into theater schools in very similar areas. We do try to mirror what we call near bus stops. So if it's a bus stop for high school, it can also be a bus stop for elementary and also for middle school, because those are the safest. We've identified them as the safest places to pick up and drop off students, low and unload students. So after they drop off at 6:40, they'll go to start picking up their middle school or their 8 o'clock bell. In order to mitigate some of our, because we do have a large number of students with disabilities that we do transport, some of our students that are some of our schools, I apologize, some of our schools that don't have the gen ed, don't have gen ed transportation, we will put on an 8 o'clock bell in order to kind of level out some of the demand so that we don't have such a high demand because we have to staff to the highest level. So 8 o'clock bell is a drop off for at 7:40. And then we go back out for the third tier, which is the 9 o'clock bell in the elementary, certainly the elementary bell for a drop off at 8:40. Students with disabilities, if there's an early childhood program, they'll go back out starting about 10:45 to do the same thing for half day programs. And for gen ed drivers, they come back, they work a split shift, so they clock out. They come back approximately about 12 o'clock to start for their afternoon, which is then we do it in reverse, high school, same thing, high school, middle school, elementary school. If there's, then we go out to late bell, which is late activity. And then we also try to use some of our route drivers for the front ends of activities for events and athletics. And then we also have our route driver. Also in the middle of that, just so you understand, and I think this is important to note how much that we do try to leverage and have real efficient our drivers. We also try to fit field trips in the split shift so that we can use our route drivers at that time as well.
Thank you for that breakdown. We really appreciate that clarity. Colleagues, I don't see any additional members in the queue. I just do want to appreciate everyone for their thoughtful questions and for thoughtful communication that's before us. This is an item that we can continue to share over the draft. There's draft language that has that we honor from a recent state board meeting that was expected to go on to LCB. We will continue to monitor this item and continue to have discussions on its impacts to all of the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was not an action item, colleagues, so we're going to keep on moving on. Now we're officially welcoming Mr. Hall. And before I open item 3.02, if anyone would like to speak on this item, please submit your yellow cards now. This item is a public hearing on the possible approval of the memorandum of agreement between CCSD and Education Support Employees Association regarding the distribution of funds allocated to the state bill 231. Mr. Hall.
Thank you. The Veteran Revised Statute NRS 288.153 requires that any new, extended, or modified collective bargaining agreement between a local government employer and an employee organization be approved by the governing body of the local government employer at a public hearing, and that the chief executive officer of the local government shall report to the local government the fiscal impact of the agreement. The Board of Trustees of the Clark County School District, or CCSD, approved a negotiated agreement with the Education Support Employees Association, or ESEA. An agreement has been reached pending approval by the Board of Trustees and the Superintendent of Schools regarding memorandum of agreement between CCSD and ESEA regarding the allocation of funds provided through the recently passed Senate Bill 231 or SB 231. ESEA and CCSD drafted a new memorandum of agreement, which memorializes the agreement between the parties that education support professionals will receive a portion of the SB 231 funds based on the percentage of eligible employees in that group, or approximately 33.4%. The terms of this agreement will be effective prospectively from the date of approval and signature. There are additional costs in the amount of approximately $58 million associated with entering into this memorandum of agreement. This is time and place to conduct a public hearing on discussion of possible action on approval of the new memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Education Support Employees Association regarding the distribution of funds to educational professionals allocated through Senate Bill 231.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Trustee Guzman.
Thank you, President Garcia Morales. I will not be voting on this. I will be abstaining from it because ESEA is part of the Nevada State Education Association, which is my employer.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask if the board, if there is any discussion at this time. Otherwise, we'll turn it over to the comment. And we'll begin with individuals who signed up in advance. Autumn Tampa, followed by Jim Fraser.
Autumn Tampa, speaking as an individual. Wow, this has been a long time coming. Watching patient support professionals be left out or looked over year after year after year after year. I am really grateful and appreciative to ESEA and their team for negotiating this, to CCSD and their team for negotiating this, for this board moving it forward so quickly. It's okay. I want to say and put that on the record, say thank you for that. Yeah, I'm just overwhelmed. I'll speak later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tampa. Mr. Fraser, welcome.
Thank you, Madam President, trustees. For the record, my name is Jim Fraser. I'm a high school teacher here in Clark County, and I also have the honor of being the vice president of your largest bargaining unit, CCEA. I come here to speak in opposition of this, and I have 4 points. One, the law does not allow you to do this. It is not your money to divide up. It is to be collectively bargained. And until all units are collectively bargained, it cannot go forward. You have not reached an agreement with your largest bargaining unit representing 18,000 teachers. You've walked away from the table and declared impasse. The second issue I would say is that, again, it is not your money. In front of the Senate Finance Committee, CCSD's lobbyist was so inept that Chair Dondero Loop said that she was counting your testimony as in opposition of the bill. You didn't lift a finger to move the bill. Third, as much as I care for support staff, and any educator understands the value of support staff, and quite frankly deserves more than this, I question how you're spending your money. If you have tens of thousands of students that don't have a licensed educator in front of them, and you say you cannot pay for this, why aren't you using all your money the best you can to attract and retain qualified educators? And the last thing I would say is to my friends in the ESEA, it is not your money. Your bargaining unit, NSEA, in front of Carson City, spoke against this bill, worked against this bill. Don't come with your hand out on this money now. Luckily for every educator in the state and support staff, NSEA was not very respected and their efforts failed. I thank you for your time.
That concludes public comments. Colleagues, I'm seeking a motion. Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam President. This time I'd like to make a motion to approve item 3.2.
Forgive me. Thank you, Trustee Williams. I acknowledge your motion, and I want to note for the record that this public hearing was not closed. Looking for a second, trustee Brooks.
Thank you, Madam President. I will second the motion.
Thank you. Colleagues, we have a motion by trustee Williams, a second by trustee Brooks. Please cast your vote. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Aye.
Thank you. Colleagues, that motion passes 6 yes and 1 abstention. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item 3.03. That is, this is the public hearing on and possible action of the new memorandum of agreement between CCSD and the Police Officers Association of the Clark County School District regarding the distribution of funds allocated through Senate Bill 231. This is an action item, and if any member of the public would like to speak on this item, please submit your yellow cards now.
Madam Chair, I was on Zoom, you never called me, I got stuck in overflow.
Welcome, Mr. Bayless, good to see you.
I'm on the list, I got called.
You are.
Didn't get called.
We did call your name. And we are now at item 3.01.
Right, I was stuck in the overflow, pretty hard to speak to you.
Mr. Bayless will include you in public comment.
I was already listening on that. Okay.
Thank you. As I was saying, this is a action item. And if anybody would like to speak on this item, please submit your yellow card, otherwise we will keep it going here. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara. Nevada revised statute 288.153 requires that any new extended or modified collective bargaining agreement in a local government employer and an employee organization be approved by the governing body of the local government employer at a public hearing, and that the chief executive officer of the local government shall report to the local government the fiscal impact of the agreement. The Board of Trustees of the Clark County School District, or CCSD, approved a negotiated agreement with the Police Officers Association of the Clark County School District, or POA. An agreement has been reached pending approval by the Board of Trustees and the Superintendent of Schools regarding a memorandum of agreement between CCSD and POA regarding the allocation of funds provided through the recently passed Senate Bill 231 or SB 231. POA and CCSD drafted a new memorandum of agreement, which memorializes the agreement between the parties, and POA will receive a portion of the SB 231 funds based on the percentage of eligible employees who are school police officers, or approximately 0.6%. The terms of this agreement will be effective prospectively from the date of approval and signature. There are additional costs in the amount of approximately $1 million associated with the SB 231 funds. Based on this is the time and place to conduct a public hearing on discussion of and possible action on approval of the new memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Police Officers Association of the Clark County School District regarding the distribution of funds to school police officers allocated through Senate Bill 231.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Colleagues, I'm looking for any discussion. If there is none, I will move on to public comment. No one signed up in advance for this item, and I don't see any yellow cards. So at this time, I'm seeking a motion. Trustee Williams.
Did you want to close the public hearing?
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. The public hearing is now closed.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to pass item 3.03.
Thank you, trustee Williams. Trustee Guzman.
I second.
Thank you, trustee Guzman. Colleagues, we have a motion by trustee Williams, a second by trustee Guzman. Please cast your vote. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Aye.
Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Appreciate your time. All right, we are now going to move on to item 4.01. That is public comments on items not listed as action items on the agenda. Before I move on to item fully open 4.01. If anybody would like to speak on this item and has not already signed up, please do so now. Otherwise, we will no longer accept yellow cards on the start of this item. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, we're just gonna take a 2-minute pause. Thank you, members. Please stay on the dais. We're just going walking through some logistics. All right, everybody, if you're getting to start ready to get started here. I recognize that there is a large crowd and there's still some of our staff who's collecting yellow cards. Appreciate that. I'm gonna provide from the moment we begin public comment, I'm gonna give another 5 minutes for individuals to turn in yellow cards, but most of the 5 minutes in. So this item, I'm gonna stop collecting yellow cards. I recognize that there are individuals who are in the overflow room, and it may take them some time to get into the boardroom. So if you hear your name, please come on through and take your place. Come up. We're gonna begin with individuals who have signed up in advance.
The main paper.
And then we'll go.
Yeah, just share it out to the group that we all have. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Bayless, remember who you are. Yep. Mr. Bayless, come on up. You'll be first, followed by Kimberly Lindsay, John. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Armand. Mr. Bayless, come on through.
James Village for the record, good evening, ladies of the board, and Ms. Morales, closure. So this is just basically coming up to mainly address. I got a legislature from Ms. Cortez. I guess they swapped him out of basic to Del Sol Elementary, but I never registered from Del Sol. But I got a willing and able letter from them. And Miss Linda, if you will look on the second page.
Mr. Bayless, remember, I know you're a
well,
pro at
it's
this.
her school, so generally talk to you guys if you don't have your switch over to that school.
Please talk to all of us.
Okay.
That's a rule of.
So long story short, you'll see the second page of that packet. You'll see Ms. Cortez put a bunch of dates on there. You'll see the rest of the packet to where those dates don't even make sense. They basically, what I'm assuming, and this is only my assumption, is due to the fact that if you look at the dates, they basically made it to where basic, I was never a basic. So I'm thinking the situation that happened in Jan 10, they're trying to cover up, and I believe they're trying to blame me for it, Ms. Linda. So you might want to look at this packet and check out all the legislature behind it, because you know where I'm going and you know where we're seeing each other. This is happened after you guys already got served. Would this be falsifying evidence, man? In a federal, this is an IEP. This is a federal document. And we're already in federal court and you're falsifying documents after the lawyer told me not to contact Jar no more. But yet Del Sol said this after they were told. So it seems not only you guys violated your own representation, you try to falsify documents that cover your own ass in the process. That's. You know what?
For family is not welcome.
I apologize. But you know how I am. I'm gonna check every slip you guys make.
Yeah.
I've been watching for the past 3 years. And I just like to say, if anybody likes Bollywood, hey, you can drive your college, get your tickets. Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I recognize that some of you may be new to our board meetings. This is a business meeting.
Yeah,
We want to hear from everyone. Thank you for hearing. Thank you. Thank you for hearing. Business decorum. What's the matter?
Hi, Madam President, members of the board. My name is Kimberly Lindsay. I'm here to ask you to repeal your transgender regulation 5138. Few reasons for this. Your guide for supporting transgender students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Your all the supporting science and evidence are from largely discredited individuals or groups. They don't believe the science that there is two genders. In fact, they state that it is healthy, appropriate, and typical behavior and part of human development for a child to be on the gender spectrum. And they can't even answer what a woman is. This is grooming. It's not okay. We don't want this around our children. I don't know if you've seen what's happened with our school district in the news. We parents have. There's headline after headline about this lawsuit settled. $9 million here for sexual assault offenders. $1.4 million settled for a child that was raped while 5 or sexually assaulted while 5 teachers were nearby. We as parents don't want this for our children. We want them to be safe when they go to school. It's not appropriate that you guys are sexualizing and grooming them from kindergarten on in. So why do they need to have their education scaffolded to encompass pronouns in kindergarten? That's between a parent and their child, not between a teacher and their child. This guideline even states that parents aren't to be involved because they might have an unsafe environment. Who is this school district to separate a parent from their child? Please repeal this. In 2018, you guys, the board, put out a questionnaire, a survey to parents asking, should we have a transgender policy? 135 said no, 124 said yes. In a democracy where the majority rules, how does it make sense to then give us a policy? And we are a republic, just so we are clear, and your job is to protect our daughters. Title IX protects our daughters from sexual discrimination from their private spaces. This is a gross misuse of those definitions. And I don't want my daughter to be assaulted. As you've seen, a young girl in she got assaulted by a poor misguided soul. Boys should not lay their hands on girls. That's another discussion. But again, between the parents, not you guys. Keep your guys' sexual ideology away from us. Parents, we are your constituents. We are the people. This is what we're asking of you. So do the right thing or leave your job. Resign. Yes. You know the love of Jesus Christ in your life and your eyes are open. Thank you.
Morning. There is no clapping. I appreciate your ability to exercise what you bring in. You're welcome to hold them. You're welcome to hold them in your arms and your hands, but not over your head to impede someone else's vision.
In response to policy 5138, I would like to share the 10 realities of LGBTQ. Number one, there are only two genders. Number two, without heterosexuality, homosexuality would not exist. Number three, gender is not fluid, it's frozen. Number four, parents who support transitioning a minor are guilty of child abuse, negligence, and human decency. The epitome of a love is also true. Number five, transgenderism is a mental disorder. Number six, anal sex, blowjobs, and orgasms
Mr.
are not
John, stop.
criteria.
No, stop,
for
stop,
the SAT.
absolutely not. This is, we are not, I'm stopping your time.
You're
We are
stopping my
not,
time.
I'm stopping your time because I'm gonna correct you.
Stop my time.
I'm gonna correct you.
You don't have authority to stop my time. I'm gonna
That's
be.
because I'm running, and I'm going to ask you
In this
to
book
not
right here,
use
it talks
profanity.
about on
This-
page
We're not
14,
gonna do
it
this.
says,
We're not gonna do this. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you to pause. I'm gonna ask.
Page 14 is only
Please stop.
in this book. Page 22, it says, what's wrong, Navarro? I think you like a big sausage in your mouth. Ha ha ha. That's in this book.
Yes.
All right.
John, your language is inappropriate and it can. Start here for you to search for me. We want to hear your public comment, however, this
This is giving you public
is
comment.
trustee is bad.
It's also true. You don't want to hear the truth. You want to cover up the truth.
Yeah.
Inclusion into the school system. We can care less about the perverted books that you all want in the school. Get them out and let's get back to reading, writing, and
Yes.
arithmetic. You want to take my time, you want to silence me, you want to shut me up, because you don't want to hear the other side.
That's right.
We heard from the perverts.
Yeah.
We heard from the wicked people.
Yeah.
We heard from the sexual deviants and predators. We heard from the people that common sin.
Yeah.
Also, page 40 in this book, it says, we're canoeing out to Frying Pan Island, which supposedly looks like a frying pan, but we're all certain it looks like cock and balls. Let me ask you a question. What's the educational benefit of talking about cock and balls, blowjob, the orgasm that I talked about initially that set you off? What's the educational benefit of talking about that? Want to ask me that for a minute? Since we have something to say?
Here, come to all the this gentleman here. This gentleman here, right here. I'm asking him to leave before we. Discussing a public meeting. And find out what it's all about meeting. And I'm gonna leave. Please leave the gentleman who is wearing the gray cap is also being asked to leave as well because he was approaching the board and we asked. Amanda Reynolds, James Phillips, and Karen Hu. Karen Hu. We have Amanda, James, and Karen. These individuals signed up in advance. If they're in the overflow room, please come on through and we'll take you. So we've got Stephen DeLores and Tiffany Vermont. Come on. Tiffany, come on here.
Hi, so thank you for listening today. I'm coming to you with a concern over Exact Path, which is a system that was put in place to help kids catch up, to accelerate, to improve scores. Make sense. I'm coming to you today because as a parent, I have a concern. And also, I am an instructional designer by trade. So when my son called me from school and told me his hands were shaking, that he was upset, that he thought he was having a panic attack, I was kind of concerned, like, what's going on? After doing some research, I sat down with him and said, why? What's happening? He's a straight A student. When we actually looked at the system, what I found was a couple of things. And as an instructional designer, it goes against everything that I do on a daily basis in my job. So first, they're given an activity, and during this activity, there was content that was shown that it literally said, you don't need this, we're going to show it to you anyway. After that, when we looked at this content, it was not user-friendly, it was hard to enter data, it was inconsistent in the way it asked you to enter data. We literally spent 15 minutes entering something before we realized you didn't have to show your work on this one example when you did on the previous one. Took us about an hour and a half to get through one lesson. We then took the pretest. I say we because I sat with them the whole time learning about polynomials, which I hadn't seen in years. Passed that pretest 100%. It was only 5 questions. And then we got to the actual test. 2 of the questions pertained to the lesson that I had just viewed. The other 3 did not. And then when you fail, it erases all of your progress, sends you back to the lesson that you just did. There are no changes in that lesson. It is a waste of time. And then you get sent back to that test and it turns into a very vicious cycle. Not only that, but while we're going through that process, kids are supposed to be working at grade level or above, and it's supposed to challenge them. Or if they're behind, it's supposed to catch them up. The problem is that my son is in geometry and he's starting to get presented with trigonometry, and he's getting a grade on that. So how is he supposed to be responsible for all of those things? It's taking 20 minutes of valuable instruction time away from teachers, and they could actually be teaching the subject team there to learn. And my son isn't alone. One child I heard had spent 5 hours on a lesson and came to her teacher in absolute tears out of sheer frustration. I'm concerned because this is a waste of money. It's a waste of instructional time. Teachers are already stretched. We have other places to spend this money, and we're actually stressing people out, and it's just really not productive. What I'm asking is that you fix the system, that you don't have grades that are tied directly to the progress that the children are making in this system. And that if they're working at grade level, they don't continue.
Thank you very much for your public comments. I believe staff has already been in contact with you and are moving that forward. Thank you. Tiffany, the individuals who I called earlier. Yes, come on through. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephen Phillips. I'm here today to express my concerns, grievances, and experience in regard to the SPED department. As a former CCSD SPED student, class of 2001, today I stand before you as a software engineer with 20 years of experience in the field, a CPS family court corruption advocate, guardianship court, probate court corruption advocate, common law, U.S. common common court law advocate and constitutional law advocate, sped student advocate, and alternative feed media personality, podcaster, content creator. Now, you might think that these accomplishments are all due to CCSD and the CCSD sped program, but you would be wrong. This is simply not the case. Let me explain. In 2017, as an adult, I decided I wanted to go back to school, finish getting the 2.5 credits I was short from getting my high school diploma. When I got my transcripts, according to the records department, they were claiming I had only 2.5 credits earned. This was completely false, as I had kept all my records, my transcripts, and I was able to get those corrected. Had this not been the case, I would have been screwed. It makes me wonder how many other students this was done to and what did it do. The second thing I want to point out is that during my advocacy for a CCSD student whom I tutor, this student's father asked my help. He asked my help for him to fly his son for the IEP SPED program. During the first Zoom telehearing, I was appalled and disgusted to hear those holding the hearing from the SPED department try to get this father to agree to cover the cost of the freaking evaluation out of pocket by the neurologist. And I quote, "Do you agree to pay out of pocket for the medical evaluation of your son?" That was the first thing they said to him. Fortunately, I had already explained to him his rights and that the state was obligated to pay for it. I helped their son with his English. I also did the immigration translations for the paperwork for his son and his freaking wife to become citizens. And you sit here and you claim to be about equity and equality, and yet you do this? Hypocrites. When I was at school, I was always stigmatized by everyone due to the fact that I was in the SPED program. And then I had an IEP. I was made to feel stupid and retarded by the stigma of by my classmates and even some teachers. As a result, people have always underestimated me. Well, let me tell you something about us. We are not stupid. We are not invalids. We are a gift. These kids are a gift to humanity. And what do? You want to destroy it? Well, all of us here, we stand united. Yeah. Full stop. Yeah.
Remember Real?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Wu for the records. To start off, I'd like to quickly provide more clarity on the walkout at Clark High School last week. Us students exercised our constitutional right to protest and partook in a peaceful demonstration against the unfair pay of our teachers. This was during a non-instructional period, and none of our teachers involved in any way. We took the utmost care to not disrupt class time. Unlike what a recent email sent to students during our 5th period last Friday would suggest, we did do our research and we do respect our school staff. I believe the real issue is whether the sender of this email feels the same, as his actions have not aligned with his words. Now, I'd like to address the NTE proposal to cut bus routes and change school start times. As a magnet student myself, I am in firm opposition of dropping magnet routes as it is entirely inequitable. A special education should not be reserved for only those privileged with other means of transportation. Getting to interact with bright peers from diverse backgrounds is what has made my own and so many others' magnet experiences so fulfilling. CCSD is already ranked second to last in terms of education quality across the country. Today, I simply ask that we do not contribute to further decreases by moving forward with this. Finally, let's talk about the expansion from 2 miles to 5 miles for a walk zone. I'm sure we have plenty of parents in the room today. Would any of you let your child walk 5 miles alone? No. Thank you. On average, it takes around 20 minutes to walk 1 mile. Assuming they don't slow down from being tired, that would mean students could spend over 3 hours, 100 minutes each way, walking a day. Besides being the biggest waste of time I've ever heard of, this is also extremely unsafe. Students, especially from certain schools, could face at least one, if not all, of the following: a lack of side or crosswalks, dangerous areas, poor weather, and later proposed start times and extracurriculars, poor lighting as the sun sets. Yeah. I really hope this sounds as ridiculous to you as it does to me. Thank you.
Greg Van Holten. And Norma Sirlock. Is Norma here? In the other room, okay, and Greg. Okay, We'll give him a chance, we'll give them a good chance to come up. In the meantime, I'll ask if Greg Seymour is in the room.
Yes.
Jenny Carroll and Autumn Tampa.
Good evening, board. I want to start off by saying I stand in full and complete agreement with Pastor John Amanchukwu. It's about time we stand up and put an end to this nonsense.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. For the record, my name is Greg Seymour. I am a lead pastor of Calvary Red Rock here in Nevada. I'm also co-founder of American Christian Caucus. I come as a voice representing literally thousands of God-honoring, law-abiding Nevada citizens to voice and lament over what's being done to that which was created in God's image. Humankind, I'm speaking of, particularly, especially when it comes to our children. As a community, and we brought out the community today, we're gathered here to formally request that you repeal P5138. Clark County has 315-ish thousand students in the district. And according to current numbers, there's 317 who are on gender support plans, implementing a policy that only serves 0.10% of Clark County students reveals how absolutely agenda-driven this policy is. Section 4, Part H, numbers 1, 2, and 3, covering restrooms, lockers, and overnight field trips, do not protect the privacy and well-being of the 99+% of the rest of the students.
Yes.
It's insanity. For some reason, basic biology has been taken out of the Clark County School District policy, and regulations instead are focusing on societal constructs of gender. The rating of our school district is a direct reflection of our school board. When our school board has a difficult time understanding basic biology, then how can our students know any different?
Yes.
Well, you may try to counter that 0.10% of student population, how they shouldn't be a threat. We know this is only the beginning. We know this is an agenda you have. As long as we stay silent, don't get involved in our students' academic activities, you're going to continue to indoctrinate our children into believing these lies by bringing in so-called vetted professionals to talk to kids about how they feel, what they identify as. And you will continue to bring explicit pornographic reading material such as Flamer, which you didn't allow him to read out of, but our students can read it. All boys on blue, and to elementary libraries for children of all ages to read. As long as we are silent and don't fight against the injustice that is happening to the mental state of our children, then you will be able to implement anything you want, but that is not going to be the case. That's not going to allow it. It's not going to allow it. The Clark County community has registered voters who voted you in, asked that you repeal P513.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Can be voted out.
I'm Norma Sirlock. And I had my speech all written here, but then on my way here, I got a notification. Is Jara still on the line?
Please continue your public comment.
Is Jara still on the
Please continue
line?
your public comment.
Because Jara has made another comment that we are terrorists. We are not the ones trying to manipulate and hurt our children. We are not the ones giving sex hormones behind the parents' backs. We are Christians with family values and morals. What we are is a Christian army. And God will hand down his wrath on all of you for these decisions you're making to harm these children. Now, my real speech. My friend is a longtime teacher in this school district. She had a child that wore an inappropriate item, and she emailed the mother, and the mother called her. The mother talked to the boy. The boy was so angry, she threw his phone at her. She didn't press charges, but she got called into the office after a couple days and was charged with gender identity bullying. Gender identity bullying.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
So she hired a lawyer and she brought in a senator and she got acquitted of all of those things because it was a lie. Yes, thank goodness. So kids, if you're listening to this, do not trust any adults that's telling you not to listen to your parents. I hate when they sit in front of us here with smug looks on their face, like they don't pay attention to what we say. They look at us smugly like we don't even matter.
Right.
They're trying to separate us from our kids. The DEI, which really means death, is communism. This is meant to break up families. Why else would they tell the teachers and kids not to tell the parents? Why so secret? Why would you try to take the rights of parents to decide what's best for their kids? Why does CCSD hide behind 5138? I understand why they're doing this. If all the children believe they're gay or trans, there won't be any more children. There won't be any more families. This is a satanic cult. We can see from that picture that she is standing up there. It's a satanic cult. This has got to stop. Our children need to be learning math, reading, writing, and this liberal agenda is stopping that. Schools are interested in pushing mutilation and perversion instead of true education. Governor Lombardo, where the heck are you? You said you would protect our children. Why didn't you veto this? We voted for you. We won't be voting for you again. I can guarantee you that.
Right.
God, I ask you today to please take the blinders off of them and let them see and be brave and courageous teachers and stand up.
Thank you very much. That is your comment. Thank you for already. Oh, thank you, Tiffany.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Tiffany Beagle for the record, and really quickly in reference to the presentation earlier, Clark High School starts at 8:04, which is after 8 o'clock.
Yes.
Tonight, however, I would like to talk about sick days. I am in year 19 of my career and have over 200 sick days accrued. Teachers are in a very sticky spot because we get a ton of sick days every year and one flex day. With this one flex day, we can do whatever we want. We can take an extra day on a 3-day weekend or a random Wednesday off just because. But our sick days are very specific. If my car breaks down, we want a day off code for that for teachers. I have no way to code that in the system. We can't take a sick day for that for fear of the witch hunts that are happening at our school sites. And believe you and me, they are happening right now, every day. The sick day system should be looked at and adjusted. Teachers cannot predict when they will need to take a day off to schedule repairs for the problems in their homes, cars, etc. It's a very difficult situation because we do not have personal days if we use our sick days. We have 1 day in our 9 months of employment to use for whatever. The rest must be coded specifically as sick. And we are now being grilled by our colleagues at our school sites if we dare take our earned sick days. This is happening. It happened on Monday to a colleague in my department. It shouldn't matter if they stayed home with their sick child, or they had this nasty flu bug that's going around, or they needed a mental health day. Taking 1 day off is not cause for alarm. Yet they were grilled in the parking lot for 30 minutes beyond contract by another teacher, trying to earn brownie points for some strange unknown reason. Teacher sick time needs to be reviewed and potentially changed to PTO, similar to what county employees earn and receive, especially now that we can no longer buy out our last year of work with our sick days before retirement. Thank you.
If items are negotiated with the bargaining unit, just be mindful of that. Okay. Jenny Carroll, Autumn Tampa. Vicky Crydell. Jamie?
Yes, hi. My name is Jeannie Carroll for the record. In love, dear school board trustees, I'm a concerned grandmother of 3 and a graduate of the public school systems. I come to before you to make a plea about truth, identity, and textbooks. I missed out on the truth, identity, and the richness and power and glory of God by not having a public education whereby the Holy Bible was not used as a textbook to teach true science, identity, and history. The Holy Bible answers, who am I, what am I here for, who is God, and what is true love? All scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, equipped for every good work. In a unanimous decision, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the centrality of the Bible in U.S. schools, penning these remarkable words. Why may not the Bible, especially the New Testament, without note or comment, be read and taught as a divine revelation in the school, its general precepts expounded and its glorious principles of morality inculcated? Where can the purest principles of morality be learned so clearly or so perfectly as from the New Testament? Where are benevolence, the love of truth, sobriety, and industry so powerfully and irresistibly inculcated as in the sacred volume, U.S. Supreme Court, Vidal versus Gerard, Executor, 1844. It is for by appointments. So that in science, which is in science, the state of knowledge, the state of knowing or knowledge, according to Webster's dictionary, that God declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times, things not yet done. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth. We are all cousins, descendants of Adam and Eve, so that we should seek the Lord in the hope that they might grope for him and find him, though he is not far from each of us. For in him we live, for we are also his offspring. That purity is a gift from God, which protects children and young adults from STDs and unwanted pregnancies. Abstinence from sex before marriage, defining marriage between one man and one woman. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And Adam said that this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived that neither fornicators, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God. The good news is that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Amen.
Amen.
President Vicky Cardell, and then Derek Sheets.
Autumn Tampa, speaking as an individual. Right now, I don't know if I want to burst into tears because I feel deeply, deeply concerned. I was highly encouraged by seeing a lot of community members here. And I feel like I am not truly accepted for who I am, and that I'm afraid to speak what I believe because it might be different than the people sitting in the audience. And that breaks my heart because if I feel afraid, I wonder how children feel afraid. I believe in the Constitution of the United States of America, which talks about freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of a lot of things, which I'm not going to. Thank you for laughing at me. I did not laugh at you. But that is rude, disrespectful, and bullying of people who are calling themselves Christians. It breaks my heart. Okay, well, it concerns me because what's going on right now is going on and impacting our schools. It's impacting this meeting, which is supposed to be a business meeting for constructive things. And while I agree with some of the things that the parents said here tonight, I don't agree with the bullying tactics by CCEA, by this group of people, because that doesn't teach children tolerance. It doesn't teach them acceptance or love. Anyway, my concerns about the political atmosphere of this and the difficulties, because it's taken me 15 years to understand the politics. And as I've spoken over 15 years, I have never insulted anyone. I have never laughed at anyone, but I have been able to disagree with people respectfully, and I will continue to do that. And I almost left, but I said, you know what? I wanted to speak and say some things that are on my mind. And this culture that's in this room is impacting our schools because we're not working together. And I'd like to see more tolerance. I'd like to see more open-mindedness and open-heartedness for people who are different. And that's what I think the board is trying to do, and I thank you for that. But it's a difficult task, so good luck.
How many children do you have?
It's pretty straightforward. Coming to the audience is pretty straightforward.
I lost 3 babies.
Excuse me, Ms. Tampa, I'm gonna ask you not to engage. And I'm gonna ask the audience not to engage. If you don't know how, if you have a hard time with that, please allow yourself to leave this room. Ms. Friedel?
Good evening, Vicki Friedel for the record.
Oh, no.
I work at an amazing magnet school in the far eastern part of Las Vegas Valley. What's most amazing about Lonely G Herd, besides our spectacular team, is the absolutely beautiful, diverse group of students who come to us for their learning. Many of our kids ride CCSD buses to and from school daily to have an opportunity to take things like coding and robotics. About a week ago, I started to see things online about the proposed busing changes. It took me a few days to figure out the source of the graphics, and I read that it was proposing cutting buses for magnets and increasing the radius to 5 miles to qualify for busing. I had to go find an article I'd read recently about the Board of Education wanting to change start times, including CCSD's promise to challenge that requirement. After a bit of digging, I was able to put together the pieces of what's really going on with the discussion only item we saw tonight. By the time I figured it out, staff at my school were getting worried, and we were getting questions from families about this item. Let's be clear. We do now know what's really going on with the messaging. You see, what might seem like an innocent way to make a point to you all can have far-reaching negative effects on our families. Our families may not be able to so easily navigate through what was really going on with these decisions and how they may be implemented and which discussions are being had simply to make a larger point to the State Board of Education. If magnets were really losing busing, it would disenfranchise our poorest families. Even the possibility of this change would result in many families not even applying to attend magnet schools because of the possibility that they would apply for something that wouldn't work out for them. This is recruiting season for our magnet schools. To keep our programs robust and growing, we need families to trust us. With this tactic, the trust in the district is harmed. Leading with a positive communication strategy with full transparency is a better option. What happened with this plants the idea that busing may not be available and will discourage some families from even applying. And that would be a real tragedy. Please think about that in the future when considering the messaging that we're doing. Thank you.
Eric, present, and I believe Greg Van Holten. Is he here? Did he make it over to the room? Derek?
Yes, thank you, Derek Sheets. For the record, my concern is regarding policy 5138, which seeks to further the agenda of gender expression identities and establish gender support teams and gender support plans led by school administrators. The danger is that CCSD is a state agency, and this policy would insert the state, school, or another official in between the parent and the child and usurps the role of the parent. The state is not the parent, the school is not the parent is the parent. Mandates are not laws, and laws do not dictate morality. Morality is what dictates culture and policy, and morality is founded on truth. Not your truth, not my truth, but the truth. This is a call for Bill 5138. 5138 Section 4 Option 2 states students with diverse gender identities have the right to access restrooms or locker rooms or participate in overnight field trips consistent with their gender identity. Children of the opposite sex do not belong together in secluded areas where there's a reasonable expectation of privacy. Children of the opposite sex should not be allowed to have observation or interaction while using the restroom in proximity of dressing or undressing, or possibly the sharing of bunking quarters, nor should this be facilitated by the school. This is grossly inappropriate, opens the doors to diversity, and raises major safety concerns. Section 7 has a brief description regarding disciplinary actions against staff or students for use of pronouns. This does not define what that discipline will be, but leaves room to be built upon for future use. This appears to be much like a Trojan horse in that this stratagem can be lying in wait just to be used later to punish teachers who do not go along with this gender confusion ideology. According to the Nevada Globe, Nevada ranks 49th in education attainment, 47th in literacy rate, and 49th in dropout rate. There are students who cannot read nor write, and yet we want to facilitate the policy-driven curriculum change that emphasize gender ideology. This council would be poisonous. Likewise, this council of confusion being forced on children will lead to destruction. No matter what an individual does to their outward appearances, it will never change their God-given chromosomes. If you don't care about someone, you can give them bad counsel, or you can simply tell them what they want to hear. But if you truly care about someone, you tell them the truth, and the truth is not afraid of cross-examination. There are only two genders. God created the male and female and blessed them and called them mankind in the day of creation, Genesis 5:1. When you idolize sexuality, you will ultimately misuse other people. You will subject others to your own desires, and you yourself will never truly be content. This goes beyond sexuality, however. This is influencing children to embrace ideas of medical procedures to chemically and physically castrate themselves based on grooming influences or in accordance with the whim of passing time or season in their life. This is an agenda that seeks to steal a generation, to pervert children, to cause children to turn away from what is right, to corrupt children from what is true. And this ideology uses indoctrination, grooming, and confusion to do so. This is playing with fire. It will ravage the mind. It will lead to permanently disfiguring someone through puberty blockers and then mutilation. And once that part of the body is gone, it is gone forever. These ideas don't come from God, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. The Bible said that a time will come when right will become wrong and wrong will become right. Our battle in this generation now lies within the realm of ideas, within the realm of what counsel we choose to accept or reject. Transgender ideology runs contrary to biblical truth, and we will adhere to the truth of God's word.
Yes.
This can all be summarized in two concepts: obedience or disobedience to God. You are made in the image of God, and God loves you, but he is not going to honor rebellion against him. Take God seriously. You always have to.
Thank you. The policy being referenced in public comment 5138 was approved in 2018 after the state law required it.
Yes, please do.
And Brandon Summers, if you're here, please come on up.
Can you find the NRS code for that?
It's not your time for public comment. You need
Well, I mean, if you're gonna drop it down, I mean, might as well cite this.
Cite your
NRS
sources.
for it.
Are you?
That's right.
Yeah. What's the NRS that says that you have to implement that? Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. You said it.
She doesn't know it.
If you don't know it.
I'm not gonna engage with you. If you choose to share that during your public comment, you're welcome to. But it's
I
your
have
turn.
nothing to share. I don't know what NRS you're citing.
Did you submit a yellow card?
No, I didn't.
And you're not.
We'll submit it.
in
You
the
just
queue. At this point
But
in
you don't
time,
know the law, but you don't know the law, the policy you're uploading.
ladies and, excuse me, security, can we ask this woman who's in the hoodie to step out with the.
Policy or law?
Right.
He's a coward. You're all cowards, especially John.
We need to replace.
Give us the number.
We need to vote. Vote back on. I said we have to.
Before you begin public comments, I just want to remind you, I need to remind the audience, this is a public meeting. You all have been given these sheets that provide information about meeting decorum for public comments. If you have a difficult time adhering to these guidelines and continue to interrupt a public meeting, we will ask you to leave.
And don't smile when others talk.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you?
Don't.
Oh, we have a rat out here pointing at people.
Please do not point at anybody and just asking the audience to please adhere to comment. You have a very difficult time with that. I'm gonna ask you to continue to interrupt the business meeting. And it makes it challenging to hear the people who signed up in advance our meeting. Demetrius, please go ahead.
My name is Demetrius Moretti, and this is.
Forgive me, I need to turn on your mic. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Demetrius Moretti, and this is in regards to policy 5138 to repeal, addressing the rights and needs of students with diverse gender identities and expressions There are a facet of cases and reasons that the parents and legal guardians should be concerned about this policy. One case that we all might be aware of that took place in Virginia of 2021, where a juvenile court judge ruled a transgender teen was guilty of sexually assaulting a classmate that was a 15-year-old girl. According to the Commonwealth attorney, the teenager is accused of 2 separate incidents that happened in that month, apart from different locations in that county, of Loudoun County High Schools. According to Fox 5, the teen was wearing an ankle monitor for the prior assault at the Stone Bridge when he allegedly forced the girl into an empty classroom, groped her at a new school. Another incident that took place in 2021 that was recently brought to light this year, a 6th grader at ASK Academy Charter School in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, was allegedly raped inside the girl's bathroom by an older biological male. And he noticed that the student, Ray, the victim, she was washing her hands, didn't particularly notice the student's sex or not aware of his gender identity. But before she knew it, the male student walked over to her, pinned her against the counter, wrestled her to the floor. After hitting her in the head, he allegedly held her down, ripped her pants, and raped her. Maggie, the victim's mother, stated, "We learned that kids were pledging allegiance to the pride flag instead of the American flag," Maggie said. "We learned that some teachers were discussing daily the normalcy of transgender people and gender dysphoria." Ray, who is now 17, said the school fostered an ideological far-left culture with left little room for dissent. She says she felt pressure by teachers and faculty to accept the presence of men in women's spaces, to keep her mouth shut about feelings of discomfort, and to avoid doing anything that would be construed as judging someone who might identify as transgender. So why do I bring this up? When we make these policies the norm, we unequivocally cause life-devastating repercussions. It is our duty and responsibility as parents and guardians to protect our children, especially against new age sexualism, is nothing more than extreme form of child abuse. It's as a father, as parents, as guardians, it is our responsibility to equip our children morally, ethically, spiritually, to have a prosperous future and to add value to the fellow man. But that depends on the decisions that we make today in this world, in this room, as we lead to an outcome of a better tomorrow. Our kids are counting on us to make good, moral, righteous decisions for their well-being in the future. But this policy is not for well-being. This is for their destruction.
Amen.
Summers, Elizabeth Elder. Elizabeth? No, Elizabeth's not here. Okay. Or Brandon Summers. I'll give them a second in case they're in the overflow room. Oh, Brandon. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Brandon Summers for the record. I'm a substitute teacher. I've been subbing since 2016. Just like to say that this year is challenging, just like the previous years have been. We're still doing we're dealing with a critical staffing shortage. 1,300 licensed teachers are, that's how bad we're short. It's definitely not it's not equitable where it's happening, definitely in North Las Vegas schools and East Las Vegas schools. I'll get back to that, but I wanted to talk about substitute pay structure. I know in the legislature, the CCSD and also Washington County opposed giving subsidies for substitute teachers who are working vacancies. And I think that's a mistake. And even though that happened at the legislative level, I think that CCSD can still do something about that. There's nothing stopping CCSD from spending some money to make sure that permanent subs, vacancy subs are taken care of, so that they can have PERS, health insurance, all those kind of things, especially if they're in the classroom doing all the same duties as licensed teachers. Also, there's a recent update that several schools had an increase for sub pay. In the transformation network, subs can make $225 a day at 23 schools. These are all elementary schools, and at certain middle and high schools, subs can make $215 a day. And I know I know that's a big jump compared to what it was previously. I know for The max for a sub right now at a Title I school is $150 a day for a day-to-day assignment, and for a long-term assignment, it's $180 a day. And my thing is, why can't we just increase the pay for subs across the board? I don't think that's unreasonable, given the supply and demand and the issues that we're having with shortages. So just take that into consideration. I didn't really come here to like start a fight or, yell at you guys. I just want to say, just consider that subs are still working. They're still crucial to schools running safely and securely, and we should consider giving subs up an increase. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna give Elizabeth Elder or Greg Van Johnson and Holton a chance to provide public comment. Okay, so we're gonna move on and to with individuals who submitted yellow cards. Leslie Quinn, followed by Jamie Judinsky, followed by Robin Carpenter. Leslie?
Oh, Leslie.
My name is Leslie Quinn. And the first question I have is, what is the NRS you referenced in regards to P5138?
Yeah.
If you can please mention that, that would be very important. My next thing is, why is the CCSD agenda so focused on destroying the innocence of our children instead of proper education in math, reading, writing, science, history, finance, civics, home economics, or music? I can mention more if that's not enough for you to do. CCSD public schools rank lowest in the nation, yet CCSD leadership uses whatever means to shift attention away from what they are not doing for Nevadan children. The focus is on the sexualization of our children, when it should be on top-notch education of Nevadan children, taking care of existing quality teachers, and hiring more of the same. During the 82nd legislative session, plenty of monies were voted in to do just that. Besides the governor's signed budget on an additional $250 million, SB 231, was allocated for teacher salaries for each of the school years of 23-24 and 24-25. Yet CCSD teachers are striking. Why? Stop with the squirrel tactics. CCSD trustees, Nevada parents are sick and tired of them. Children are not property, and they don't belong to you. It used to be if a parent exposed their children to the sexuality and pornography found in the public school library today, they would risk losing their children. Today, we live in an opposite world where parents who stand up for their children are called domestic terrorists for protecting their children's innocence. Standing up for our children is not a political party, special interest group, or government thing. It's an our children do not belong to any of you thing. Children are not property. They do not belong to CCSD, government, or special interest groups. This Nevadan mom and children says loud and clear to all of you, stop the pedophile grooming of our children immediately. Remove and stop spending public funds on the pornographic books in the public school library. Respect parents protecting their children's innocence. Our children are humans, not animals. Stop educating them as if they are. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeremy.
I feel like we're like at 10 revivals tonight, not a board meeting.
You need it.
Experience.
It's really easy to stand here and claim to be a pastor, to be a person of God, and to use religion to hurt others and justify hate. It's what's wrong with a lot of mainstream Christianity today. I grew up in the church, went to a religious college, and have a degree in religious studies. I know my way around the Bible and other holy books of world religions. One of my favorite verses comes from the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 14. You were born for such a time as this. God spoke to Queen Esther as she had a decision to make. To protect her people meant putting herself in danger, but she believed she was placed there in such a time to help. She was born to deliver. I'm not a biblical Jewish queen. I am a history teacher in Clark County. I'm a good one. I'm a reading specialist with a library endorsement. I'm a four-year member of the school organization team, and I've been celebrated nationally for my contributions to education. I'm a STUCO and Key Club and Model UN advisor. Yet some people in this room tonight would have you believe that because I'm part of the LGBTQ community, that I'm less than, that I'm a danger or some kind of monster. Those who scream and shout about grooming and books they've never read have often never made a heartbreaking call to CPS like I have. They've never paid for a student to go on a field trip they couldn't afford like I have. They don't have a list of food allergies in their desk to provide face masks like I have. They've never written a recommendation for a first generation high school graduate like I have. What they have done is become the very monsters they scream about, directly harming gender diverse students with their hate, their lies, and their venom. Pushing someone back into a closet doesn't make someone less gay or less trans or less non-binary. Screaming Bible verses while you actively harm kids doesn't make you a good Christian or a good parent or a good person. There are people in this room who should be ashamed of who they are, but they aren't the queer ones who have been made to fear for their lives. I'm not ashamed of who I am, or that my school knows who I am. I was made for such a time as this, to make sure that hate doesn't win, and that our students know they are seen, they are valid, they are worthy, and they are loved.
He's not complying to your role, insulting people. You're not supposed to insult the people here. Talking to you is what they're supposed to be doing. You're not following the rules.
Would you like to remind us, Courtney?
Probably get more done than you.
Nope. Please state your name for the record. Hi there, good evening. My name is Robin Carpenter. I am a proud professional teacher librarian in the Clark County School District. My message tonight is for our students and families from the libraries and librarians in your schools. Despite the bigoted and hateful rhetoric you may have heard at this board meeting or at any other, we want you to know that all students are safe and respected in their school libraries. Your librarians will not malign, marginalize, or mischaracterize you, your families, your culture, or your community, no matter what that is. What we will do is give you a space where you can be your true and authentic self, find books and other resources that encourage you to explore your own academic and personal interests and information needs, and provide you with literature and resources that reflect and honor the lives of people from wide and diverse backgrounds. Literature is a powerful tool for building empathy, understanding, and compassion in our students. And as we can see, the world could use a lot more of that. Referencing the work of Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop, the organization Reading is Fundamental writes, books are sometimes windows, offering views of worlds both real and imagined, familiar or strange. Windows are also sliding glass doors, allowing us to walk through in our imagination and become a part of another, less familiar world. And when the lighting conditions are just right, a window can also be a mirror. Literature can transform the human experience and reflect it back to us so that we can see our own lives and experiences as part of the larger human experience. Reading then becomes a means of self-affirmation. Students, the board approved and continues to support you via CCSD policies 5138, 6150, and 6161. The superintendent recently signed a pledge with Defense of Democracy, which assures you that he and this district will actively protect all members of this community, particularly those facing attack from extremist groups. The librarians in your schools have your backs. Be confident in who you are and know that we will all continue standing up for you. Thank you.
Leave our kids alone.
Yeah.
We have
Of course it is.
so many
Of course it is for you.
reminders that I can ask students to please be mindful that this is targeting. You don't need to be responding to anyone's public comment. Thank you very much. Can you please state your name for the record? Are you Jeremy?
Yes,
Welcome.
my name is Jeremy Heckler, for the record. I'm a teacher librarian at JT McWilliams Elementary School. As my colleagues and I can attest, school libraries are hubs for our school communities. I can spend time talking about school libraries and can discuss what they are, what they lack, but I'd rather share a few stories about teachers and students and books. I want to share with you how a child's love of books as first graders cause them to run to grab their library cards, to find books about pigeons and interrupting chickens and a groovy cat named Pete. They listen to stories and hear the words come alive and make them want to go and check out each book they come to. As they grow, they pick books and graphic novels with a dog man or a wimpy kid. They look for books that have characters that look like them or talk about their history and their culture. There are stories about super soakers, and they answer more about where they come from and how they can make their world bigger. The challenge has always been giving our children the tools to keep seeing themselves and developing that wonder, so they want to see more and do more. The biggest disappointment of my career as a librarian is seeing a student hand me a library card without a book, because they can't find something that interests them, no story to fill their soul. At every grade level, I have been a teacher librarian. I have found that it's my patrons, my students, who shape the libraries of the communities they live in. It is our responsibility to give them the tools and things they need, not only to be outstanding students, but to be the dreamers and leaders and lovers of knowledge, to be curious, to feel a part of the community they live in, and to make it a better one. I ask you as a board to continue to support the work of my colleagues and give them the resources they need to build a diverse library that ensures that no student will hand them a library card for lack of something to grow their world.
Wow, unbelievable. No last name, David Childers, and Grace Lukie. We have Jennifer. Our librarians are. President Garcia Morales, Superintendent Jara, I hope you're still on the line. Members of the board, my name is Jenna Robertson. I'm a mom of 3 current CCSD students, and I'm a special education advocate here in Clark County. We are a group of parents who support our kids, and working with a group like Nevada Alliance for Student Diversity, what amazes me is we can have a group of parents gather together to celebrate their kids when it's not popular, it's not politically looked upon happily at the moment. It's scary. It is scary right now to be the parent of a trans kid in Clark County. I want to tell you, we know that our gender diversity policy is protected. It's protected by law, SB 225. It's protected by Nevada statute. We know that even if you guys wanted to change the gender diversity policy right now, you couldn't. It is law. It's protected, and we're grateful for it. We're grateful that the Nevada Department of Education gives every district and every charter school in Nevada the opportunity to make a policy that matches their regulations or can exceed it. And Clark County, I don't want anybody on this board, I don't want our superintendent listening, I hope, to pat yourselves on the back, because you're doing the bare minimum to protect our trans kids. Washoe does it better. And I'm telling you, Washoe does it better. Here's an example why. The language in the Washoe policy regulation 5161 under rights and protections, then names and pronouns says, a student is not required to change his or her official school record or obtain a court-ordered name or gender change in order to be addressed at school by the name and pronoun which corresponds to their gender identity. Such a request may be made by the student. Oh my God, the student can ask you to change their name? Wow. Or by the parent or guardian. That's Washoe. CCSD's Equity and Diversity Department tells teachers and parents that ask that a student can only be called the name and infant in campus, and a parent must initiate any change to a gender diversity plan. While Washoe policy says, quote, using the student's declared name and pronoun promotes the safety and well-being of a student, a CC Equity and Diversity employee told an educator, quote, we have to protect the district from lawsuits. Who's protecting kids? CCSD, thank you.
We are.
Thank you for protecting our kids.
Grandma. Your parents and grandma.
So we can choose who yells at people speaking. Excuse me, Jen, excuse me, your time is paused. Please wait.
Protect the kids.
This is a business meeting. You don't,
And we're protecting our kids.
no matter who's speaking up there, everyone who speaks will have the same level of respect that's extended to them. I don't want to hear any more cheers or boos when there are comments that you don't agree with. Okay, because there are people in this room who also don't agree with you. And they're not booing you. You have a hard time with that. We're having difficulties sitting through a business meeting. Then either you can leave or we can ask you to leave. It's pretty straightforward. Jenna, please continue. To date, there are no known lawsuits against Washoe for honoring a student requested name and pronoun change in their schools. None. CCSD said they're afraid of lawsuits. Be better. Please be better for our kids. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you.
Yeah, like.
Yes. Cecily? Cecily. Thank you. David Childers and Grace Vecchio, followed by John Carlin.
Hi, I do have a CCSD student. My student is not transgender, neither of my kids are. I don't have skin in this game, but I think it's important that people like me who care about other people stand up and speak to it. Because I think we've proven why we need a policy and why maybe we even need to strengthen the policy as Jenna recommended today. Because if there's this amount of animosity, if there's this amount of threats, hates being spewed at people outside, we need our schools to be a true safe space for these kids. It's not about protecting children, it's about protecting all children, especially kids who are getting the blunt end of such hate. And that is important. And I think that needs to be addressed. And I think that maybe we need to be listening, probably skin in the game a little more, rather than people who are actually just throwing hate to people that they don't know, that they don't have contact with, people that they obviously don't understand nor care to understand. And I think it's really important that we take these concerns more seriously, because obviously we've got a big, strong pushback. These people are going after a law policy that's 5 years old. Why are they doing it now? Why are they doing it now? Because they didn't care until somebody ginned up their anger and until they decided they would be a mob. We need to protect these kids from the mob. Okay? That's all I gotta say.
Leave our kids
Thank you,
alone.
David. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, please wait until it is your turn for public comment. Otherwise,
We're organized now.
would you like to say something else, sir?
Yeah, we're organized.
Would you like to say something else? Please wait your turn. I know you've submitted a yellow public card. Please wait your turn. David, please continue.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Jarrett.
Are people allowed to contact other people in the audience? That's okay.
Please pause your time. And
It's okay for people to turn around and yell at us in the audience and say, your kid is crazy. That's okay. Why do you let this happen in board meetings? Why do you let this happen in board meetings?
I'm gonna ask any members of the audience have safety concerns to please find security or school police. Will not tolerate any poor behavior in this business meeting. And for all intended purposes, the only individual who should be speaking is the individual who's waiting patiently for their turn to speak on the podium. If it's not your turn, please refrain from speaking. Thank you. David, please continue.
Madam President and board members, General Counsel, Dr. Jar. My name is Pastor David Childers. I am a almost lifelong member of Las Vegas. Lincoln Elementary for my grade school, Jim Bridger Junior High for junior high school, and then Rancho High School, where I was privileged to serve as student body president last century in 1976 when I graduated. And I care deeply about what I'm seeing here tonight. I don't know how much the board agrees with the law that got passed, 5138. You probably were forced into the position that you're at right now. Last time I was here, I met with Dr. Brian Cram, then the head of the school district. We worked out negotiated a deal where I could buy land, and the elementary school behind us bought the back part, we bought the front part, and we worked out a deal. And there's a lot of animosity here. And I know that the side that I'm on, which is against 5138, is very vocal. I'm just wondering if there's some way that we could get together and discuss things and try to work something out. And I think you have my phone number on the little yellow card. I am siding with Bill Maher as I close my time here. The famous not so conservative comedian. He said, "I'm so happy that when I was 10 and I wanted to be a pirate, my parents didn't take me down and have my leg cut off with a peg." And he said, because I didn't really know what was right. And I don't know. I've not agreed with Bill Maher on most things, but I think that was an interesting insight. I would like to see us somehow come to come to some agreement that makes sense for both sides. So give me a call, somebody. I'd like to talk.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Captain.
Grace Grace, followed by John Carlo, and then Lorena Cárdenas and Stephanie Kinsley.
Hi, good evening. My name is Grace Trujillo. I am a boy mom. So there's a lot of talks about emotions and a lot of talks about rights, but I just want to focus on the kids and the education. First and foremost, what is the basic of education? What is the definition? In general, knowledge, skills through reasoning and judgment, preparing kids, oneself and others intellectually for a mature life. Education is vital for personal growth and development to prepare individuals for the workforce. It contributes to social and economic mobility linked to higher salaries and job opportunities. Where does it came from? The word Greek, eduser, educare, to lead out, to train, not focus and mentor and counsel. The school is not a mental institution. It's not a medical facility. It is for learning. Our youth's formal education in school should provide them with tools, guidance, support, and opportunities to learn and grow knowledge and skills they can utilize as they move and develop intellectually and to succeed. Let's look at the data. Let's be practical. The stats on education. Let's put it in the world. USA. There's a tool that they do every 3 years, PISA. You know how do we rank USA for being an affluent country? 22nd. Our score, 495. That's very embarrassing. That's in the data pandas. Let's look at the IQ. IQ, 97.43. That's 29. So what does that tell us? That's so embarrassing. I mean, China's more intellectual than us. That's what he's saying. In 2022, when Governor Lombardo said he's going to make the education his priority, we're ranked 49. You know what's we're right now? 46. What's that tell us? Nevada is like 46 out of 50. You know, reading and math is declining for 13 years olds. If you look at NAEP report, I can give you all these stats. Let's just look at stats. Let's look at science. Reading and math declining in fourth and grade school. You know, even in high schools, the average American graduates 7th year in just reading alone. Let's not even look at writing and science. This is embarrassing. The point there is help our kids to be successful. Do not dumb them down. So when someone asks you, you're from Nevada, our kids will perceive as learned, trained, eloquent citizens, not like being embarrassed. Let's not label this as a propaganda schools, but an educated Nevadians. Okay, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively, critically, intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. Like, if we go back to Galileo, in it were beginning, if I were again beginning,
Giancarlo. Thank you. Lorena Tavenas, followed by Stephanie King Johnson.
Hey, board, it's been almost over a year since I've been here. Have you missed me? I missed you guys. Believe me, I have, and I've been wanting to say that there is one thing I do thank the board for, and that's trying to vote out Dr. Jara. And I really do support that. We shouldn't give up on that. I want to see those campaign promises come true. But I would like to point out how you guys would like to censor the Confederate flag out of the public school system, but you will allow the transgender flag. And you see, that's the agenda that's being pushed. Actually, the first time I came to the Edward Greer building, this building here, there was a man with fingernails on his hands. We never seen that in the South. Never seen that in the South. That was totally beyond me. And I did stand here. I was mocked for praying, and I warned this school board, and I said, I will pray for God to send an earthquake if it's his will, because that's out of my control. Earthquakes out of my control. I was mocked, and sure enough, God sent an earthquake. Now check me. Dude, check me. God sent an earthquake. And so God has a wrath. God could shake things very quickly. Our lives could change very quickly. We're all going to die one day. And I tell you, you will not get away with this. This transgender award that was given, Sarah Carrillo, and who this dude is friends with, I know all about it. Here, listen up. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. And hell is dark and is hot. It says here, and that he turned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto them that should live ungodly. That there is fire and brimstone at the end of someone's life, but that we all must turn to Jesus. And believe me, the Spanish people, we don't want this. We do not want this. You guys do not represent the true Hispanic people. For real. Anyway, I'm proud of everyone who came tonight. I'm proud of, I stand with the teachers. I want them to have a raise. What else can I say? Just guys, don't stop. And we must pray. Pray for God's judgment. For God to end this.
That's right.
Kathleen and Christine. Mensch. Christiane.
My name is Lorena, president of CSI. Regarding trans policy 5138, we're fully aware it was implemented in 2018. Unfortunately for you, the lockdowns unveiled your agenda. I think the first thing we have to recognize is that our youth is going through an epidemic of mental health, be it from social media propagating unrealistic expectations of beauty, of lifestyle, or be it a divisive social environment where what they see is certain races portrayed a certain way in movies, media coverage to get certain narratives, even their own teachers sometimes claiming that their own country is evil, on stolen land, racist, or worse yet, be it a society that applauds single motherhood and promotes fatherless homes. Everywhere our kids turn, they are being fed toxic ideologies that create division and are leaving them feeling isolated and depressed. Gender identity is presented as emanating out of science and civil rights, but what you're really subscribing to is something so subjective that you can't even define it. There is no way to test for it, to measure it. There's no coherent description of the concept of gender identity. In the past few decades, there has been more understanding of brain development, and we know now that the frontal lobe of the brain doesn't fully develop until we are in our mid-20s. Democrat legislators here in Nevada were quick to point this out when they talked about gun rights for 18-year-olds, but ignored it completely when they argued for providing a 13-year-old puberty blocker. You don't have a right to affirm confusion in our children, especially when it's a topic as delicate as this one, a topic where any action or decision you take can lead to life-changing consequences that can render our child sterile, scarred, and mutilated. Sometimes love is saying no. We are not giving you permission to form a gender support plan for our child, which positions our children down a dark and painful path. The hundreds of testimonies are growing every day. I urge you to go to transitionjustice.org and hear the stories of women and men who grew up and regretted it. How dare you call that love? Pronounce our cultural Marxism to reprogram our youth. You're trying to punish kids for believing their eyes, for believing the truth. There is no your truth or my truth. There is only the truth. Stop lying to children. By affirming gender dysphoria instead of treating it, you're normalizing mental illness. Pedophilia is also a mental illness. With so much inclusivity, why would you leave out pedophiles? Your progressive agenda seeks to destroy the nuclear family. Family and morals are the foundation of a civil society, not the one with men gyrating in makeup down our streets and attempting to get close to children in libraries. The civil society we have had for 2,000 years, and we will not allow you to progress the destruction of our family values. You have failed to reflect the voices of the community. When parents are scrambling to make ends meet, to keep children away from public schools, you have failed them. Lastly, I say that lovely lady citing Bible verses and all her achievements.
Stephanie Kim. Stephanie Kim, I know what's going on your time. Security, can I just ask this woman to leave? Right now.
Stephanie Kinsley, I'm here from My Children's Advocate. We're a group of parents who really advocate for children and want to protect them. The reason I'm here speaking today is about your trans policy. If we can go above and beyond what I think we should do, since I have done some research into this, and I found that most trans children are autistic. Most of them have a mother with a mental disorder, usually like borderline personality disorder. You can see this with your own eyes. If you look around about the mothers you see with trans kids, they tend to be like, oh, my purple hair didn't give me enough attention. Like, let me use my kid. And it's really sad. So if we could go above and beyond, we should start investigating the homes that these trans children come from. Yeah. Because it's really sad Like, I can't imagine having a child born and then just saying, nope, you're wrong, you gotta mutilate your body so that you can be happy. I would also like you guys to just, you guys have all the degrees, I'm just a little housewife from Kentucky, so if you could explain to me, since I understood how air worked and how the human body needs oxygen, and I fought against masks and I got kicked out of here because I wasn't masky enough, and I went by the same people who are telling me men can get pregnant. You know, so I just need some clarification because I'm just a girl, you guys. I'm just a little girl. And so is it just that you do what your boss tells you to, no matter if it makes no sense or not? Could any of you with science degrees and counseling backgrounds, could someone explain to me the benefit of telling children they're in the wrong body? Can somebody explain to me why it's good to give little boys puberty blockers, even though we know that they won't, their anatomy will not grow and they'll never have the big O that I'm not allowed to say here, but it's the top pleasure part of when you have intercourse. I'm not allowed to say it, but kids could read books about how to do it to themselves. Right. I can't say the stuff up here that my kids could read in school, which is just blowing my mind. Again, I'm just a girl. I didn't spend all the time in college getting indoctrinated. So I still think for myself. And it's not God that lets me know there's only two genders, it's science, but it is God that lets me know that we're winning this battle, because yes, I do believe in God. That shouldn't scare you. It should be his belief in me that does. And I will be praying for, if any of you trans children out there can hear me, I'm so sorry, you're not in the wrong body. Your mother is just using you as a Gucci bag. Her purple hair not enough. I pray for all of you. I pray for your mentally ill mother, and I hope that you find help. Do you have children? Thank you. Yes, I do. Thank you. But they're private schools. They're not oh, they're not in public school.
For you too, why don't you answer our question?
You're supposed not to respond there, it was
It's all right.
it was an effort to ask. I'm sorry if my question made you upset. My intention was to make it. Thank you. Are you a Christian? I love you. One moment while we turn on your mic. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Good night, board members. First of all, my name is Christiane March, and I'm the chapter leader of Clark County Moms for Liberty. And I accept as badge of honors all the labels, especially when I'm being attacked by one of your own board members. I cannot say the name because I will follow your bylaws. I cannot, but she public in her Twitter calling us mom a cancer that should stop us, as a disease should not be spread in Nevada. But look at here in this room tonight, after she posted that, this disease grow, right? We're all deceased, according to one of the board members here. And why they're attacking us? Just because we may question, just because they're concerned about our children and protect by that flag our Constitution. As you can hear, I have a very hard accent because I'm an immigrant from Brazil. I escaped socialism and I'm very proud American. And every time I see that flag makes me cry because I know what racism and division and Marxism culture inside all in our schools there is, and I see this movie here now. And I just want to tell you, I wish every high school senior, when they graduate, they knew all that we immigrants know when we need to pass the test, the citizenship test, like all the rights, all the beautiful, the Constitution we know, because they would appreciate our freedoms, they would appreciate our Constitution. In one of the Constitution say it's about parental rights, it's protected. So you're not terrorists, you're just defending your rights, okay? You're not terrorists. My speech tonight is about repeal the 5138 policy. I know you guys are not going to listen, so let's going to talk like our Pastor David say here. I'm proud to work in his micro school. I'm also a teacher. Yes, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator. I teach science and theology there, and I'm very proud educator. And I know when you have children, you're giving them hope of the future. And would like to talk with you guys as peacemakers to see what you can do about correcting some things that are being hateful towards our groups, because as Superintendent Jarrett said, that he's very worried about all the backgrounds, including freedom of religion, including religion faith groups. He should respect. And what you guys are doing at crossing our lines. So I wish you could talk. Why this was not in attention 5 years ago? Well, we had a lot of medias in our side. You have a lot of beautiful words, diversity, inclusivity. We have also another issue. A lot of Hispanics don't read English. They don't know. Like my people, sometimes they come here, they're so busy with entertainment and job. And then sometimes they truly believe that the schools are doing a good job, right? So this is a problematic community. And I confess, we're so impressed about the economy, then you just believe that the school's going to do just fine.
Thank you, Ms. Mensch. Andrea Aguilar, followed by Bella. We've already providing public comment. Andrea and Bella.
Okay. Andrea Aguilar for the record. Thank you, Superintendent Jura, for officially making me a terrorist today. I'm the new secretary for Moms for Liberty Park County. It was obvious a few years ago when I began attending your meetings, and it's obvious still to this day that teaching children reading and writing are not top priorities. What I have experienced in these meetings has been horrifying. I began asking teachers why they weren't in attendance. All of them said, we used to, but it's no use. They don't care about us. They don't listen to us. One meeting I attended was with my 10-year-old daughter. At that meeting, a parent came up to the podium and began reading from a book containing pornographic language that their child was made to read. And you stopped that parent from continuing because it was inappropriate. Please, somebody tell me at what point I entered the twilight zone. There were many in the audience who were mocking the parent. My daughter turned to me and asked, Mom, do you hear them? Why should I be exposed to that? That is disgusting. I am the founder of We Rise Freedom Learning Center here in Las Vegas. I started the center after 2 years of attending your meetings and feeling sick to my stomach every month. I'm giving families the ability to have a safe, loving space for their children to learn in. More and more families are leaving their talons of lies, and I am one of those people who are helping them do that. I have proudly accepted the position of treasurer for Moms for Liberty, you know, the cancer, as one of your board members so dearly referenced us. Watch out, because this cancer is coming for you. Parents who want to make sure their kids are safe. Parents who want you to do your job in ensuring their children are properly educated. You do not own the children. Our children belong to us, not you. Clark County has been getting away with a lot for a very, very long time, and no more. And I'm going to go off script. If you're a parent and you're listening to me, did you notice their faces when we're talking about God and our values? Do you see how bored they are? They're not going to do anything. So I encourage you to find alternative.
Yeah.
There are and they're growing and growing and growing. And hopefully one day you won't have a job. Hopefully one day we'll vote you all out.
Yeah.
Let's get them out. Hello, everyone. I'm Bella Aguilar. I've been in multiple public schools. It's been about 1 year since I've been to a board meeting, and let me tell you, I'm still disappointed. I'm speaking out on behalf of all my female peers who don't feel safe at school, and you are not making it any safer for us. When I was in 3rd grade, little me was using the restroom, and I saw through the stall. One of the boys, as a joke, went in and ran in and out of the bathroom and didn't look in any of the stalls, and I still felt uneasy.
By the way, this was at Deerfeld Elementary. This was Deerfeld Elementary, by the way, just letting you know, just in case. Imagine how uncomfortable girls would feel if you allow little girls, big or small, to be uncomfortable and trapped when needing to use the restroom with biological males. You seem to make us kids follow rules and procedures that you wouldn't do yourselves. I can even give you a simple example of this. Next time you clock out for work lunch, I would like for you to clock out at your desk. Get all your workmates to get in line, walk quietly to grab your lunch, sit down, warm up your food, sit without talking to anyone, eat your lunch. At this point, you're 20 minutes in. There's no time to chew, clean up your spot, head back to your spot. Remember, no talking, get back to your seat. All I'm asking you guys is to do better. Also, with the transgender puzzle, I don't want to be uncomfortable in the restroom while I'm just using the restroom.
That's right.
Why do I have to sacrifice my spot for my privacy to get along with these girls, pretty much, biological males? Anyway, do better. Bye.
That's a good start.
There's a campaign slogan.
Shaw and Ian Fenty.
You better.
Let's see, is Elizabeth present still? We'll move on to Howell. Read Howell. Welcome. Excuse me, Mr. Hall, before you begin. Keep the secret security. Instead of us. She needs an interpreter. That's the reason she came with me. There is a process for that. There's a process for that. Oh, there is someone to interpret for her? I can get a house. Oh. They got an interpreter. Okay, thank you, Edma. Carry on, stop sexualizing kids.
How are you?
Thank you.
I am, for the record, Howell Shaw. I am pastor of a home church in Henderson. So first of all, I'm here because I do ask that you would repeal your regulation 5138, the transgender policy. You know, I don't know what the ins and outs are in terms of the law. Yes, it was signed into law in 2018, but from my understanding, that is not, you're not held to it. It is something that you can still decide to do or not to do. And that's why I think we're here to ask for you to stop doing it. All right. Now, with that said, I've heard a lot of conversation tonight, and I've heard a lot of people that have, their feelings are very, very hurt. And I completely understand, you know, being a minority, I grew up in Minnesota. I've had my occasions of feeling out of place. And I understand that. But I want also to create that dialogue, to understand that people's feelings are hurt on both sides. Because as mama and papa bears, when they are finding out for the first time that the stuff that their kids are being literally forced to learn is going against everything that they've been taught, they get a little upset.
Yes.
So I think this is the reason why you're seeing the passion in this room. Okay. And I do believe that there is a path where we can come to an understanding. Okay. In my mind, it is going to be something though that you need to re-invite the presence of God into this whole situation.
Amen.
Because if you look into the founding of this country, it was actually God's hand that created the United States of America. It was God's breath that breathed the Declaration of Independence into being. It was God's hand that made the US Constitution happen.
Yep.
And this country was founded on a moral people.
Right.
If you do not have moral people, we do not have the United States of America.
Right.
So that is what really needs to happen here, is we have to come back to God. We need to fear God instead of fearing man. So that's what we all need to do. Okay, and as you know, as the commission, whatever you guys are, I know you have a hard job because you're kind of stuck between two places. But we need to do what's right for our kids and our country moving forward. I hope you'll open your hearts to at least to understand that. Thank you very much.
Caleb Astro and Brandon Little. Is this Ian?
I am, but I think she was next.
Oh,
She needed the interpreter.
¿Cómo se llama, señor?
Elizabeth,
Un momento. Elizabeth. Aro. Sí, yes. Por favor,
sí, soy madre de 3 hijos.
En un momento, perdón, señor. Vamos a dar un poco más tiempo para que tenga suficiente tiempo para producir. We're going to give you a little bit more time. Va a haber 6 minutos para que resuman, para transcribir. Por favor, diga su nombre.
Mi nombre es Elizabeth Haro, madre de 3 hijos. Los 2 más grandes.
I'm a mother of 3 kids, and my 2 oldest
Cruzaron por el CCSD por aproximadamente 11 y 10 años.
My 2 oldest went through Clark County School District for 10 and 11 years.
En los cuales al comenzar su adolescencia estaban muy atrasados en su educación.
And at the beginning, they were very behind when it came to education.
Estaban oprimidos por niños que los incitaban a tomar drogas, a tomar alcohol.
They were surrounded by kids that invited them to do drugs and to drink.
A escaparse de las escuelas porque lo encontraron muy fácil.
Even how to ditch from school because it was so easy.
Lo cual estuve sufriendo como madre ahora de una bebé.
As a mother, I suffered so much, and now with a baby,
A la cual estuve amamantando como una mujer que soy.
as I nourished her as a mother that I am.
Y sufriendo como el CCSD no me podía ayudar con mis hijos, con la educación de mis hijos.
And disappointed on how Clark County School District just failed me when it came to my kids.
A los cuales tuve que cambiar de escuela en escuela, estuve yéndome de locación en locación.
I continue to switch them from school to school, location to location,
Para tratar de que ellos pudieran enfocarse en sus estudios
to try to get them to focus in their studies
y no en lo que fácilmente metían a las escuelas.
and not in what so easily is entered into Clark County.
A pesar de que vea securities, de todos modos los niños pueden estarse drogando dentro de la escuela de CCSD.
Even with security guards in the school, it was so easy for kids to get drugged inside of the school premises.
Y no solo ahí, también en los bus,
And even in the buses,
en donde tuve la experiencia de que uno de los días yo les hice un chocolate caliente a mis hijos
where I once had the experience that I made hot chocolate for my kids
para que pudieran calentar sus cuerpos en el invierno.
so that their bodies would be warm during the winter.
Y el bus driver les tiró el chocolate, pero no tiró la marihuana que tenían adentro.
And the bus driver threw away their hot chocolate, but not the marijuana that they were carrying.
Estaba oliendo marihuana, me lo dijeron mis hijos.
Her own kids told her how the school bus smelled like marijuana.
Y así como esas experiencias viví demasiadas hasta que tuve que llevarlos a buscar una escuela privada.
And just like that, in my desperation, I had to get them out and put them into private school.
Tuve que llorar, tuve que buscar ayuda en otro lugar porque CCSD no me la pudo dar.
I cried and I desperately had to find somewhere else because CCSD failed me.
Estuve cambiándome como ningún padre en las escuelas que mis hijos cruzaron. Estuve cambiándome de dirección de escuelas de CCSD como ningún padre en todas las escuelas que mis hijos cruzaron de CCSD.
I kept changing from school district, well, same school district, CCSD, and it didn't matter what school that you took them to, they failed each one.
Y la persona del front desk de la escuela Western me dijo, señora, así están todos.
And the front office from Western High School told her, ma'am, all of the schools here are like the same.
Están cambiándose de esta escuela a la próxima, todos están así alrededor. Y si usted se va a una escuela privada, señora, están peor.
And even if you change it, it doesn't matter what school you put them to, they're all bad. And even if you switch them to a private school, they're just as bad.
¿Sabe por qué están peor las escuelas privadas? Porque allí van puros ricos, hijos de ricos, y meten drogas peores.
You know why private schools are even worse? Because they have rich kids who have even more expensive drugs.
Lo cual no lo creí. Yo dije, me voy a buscar una escuela donde tengan principios cristianos, y allí esa cosa va a salir siendo mentira.
And so I tried to disprove them and I put my kids into a Christian school to prove them wrong.
Conocí las escuelas privadas cristianas y ellos me ayudaron a buscar becas escolares en donde yo pude asistir con mis hijos a esas escuelas privadas cristianas.
So she discovered that Western High School, the front desk actually lied to her. Christian school actually helped her with resources and grants for her kids.
Gracias a las escuelas, gracias a las becas escolares.
And she just had to pay a minimum because they actually gave her grant to be able to put her kids through private school.
Mis hijos estaban tan atrasados que les tuvieron que dar escuela de vacaciones en verano para poderlos adelantar.
Her kids were so behind that they actually had to take summer school in order to catch up.
Y uno de ellos me dijo, mamá, todos los niños de aquí están bien avanzados porque vienen desde kindergarten aquí a las escuelas privadas.
And even her own kids told her, Mom, these kids are so much more ahead because they've been attending private schools since they were in kindergarten.
Ahora con mi niña de 7 años, la tengo en 2º grado y gracias a mi Señor, gracias a Dios, al que escribió la Biblia, al que dice que somos mujer o hombre, a ese Dios, Él me ha ayudado.
Now I have a 7-year-old in private school and I'm very grateful to my God and I praise him because thanks to him, he has guided me to be able to have my daughter in private Christian school.
You guys are a disgrace. A disgrace. Pathetic.
All of my camera rooms and people pastor.
You let the kids down.
Thank you. My name is Ian Penty. I'd like to start by just asking a question that wasn't answered. Do we have the NSR that requires this trans?
It has already been provided several times. Please continue with the cover. Please continue with
So I am a father and grandfather. And I have a 6-year-old granddaughter. If you asked her today what she wants to be when she grows up, she would, I think, currently tell you a princess, although it changes from day to day. The fact that we, the adults in the room, can't protect our kids from making decisions like this that permanently alter their future is disgusting. And it's completely unreasonable.
Yes, amen.
You wouldn't tell the 6-year-olds, here's a weapon, play with it. And there's a reason why. The gun isn't going to provide harm, but the child with the gun who doesn't have any idea what they're doing is going to harm themselves. Yep. We have laws about alcohol, cigarettes, even voting. So will common sense not tell us, the adults, that our children need protection in this area, that we as adults should know better? If you as an adult want to hack off parts of your body, that's between you and your maker. Okay?
Right.
But kids don't have that understanding. We know this. Science proves this. Our laws show this. Please use common sense in this. I know that there are many of us in here, my granddaughter and my children even, I would not have them anywhere near this or any other public school district because of issues just like this. As it's been stated so many times, your job is to oversee the education. You are entrusted by parents and families, many of whom are too busy trying to survive to pay attention to what you're doing with their kids. And that's why you've got a voice of people who know better and are willing to step in. I don't care about what your personal preferences are. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. Stay away from our children.
Yes.
It's not your job to dictate your chosen immorality on someone else's child. What you do in your own time, that's up to you. But leave the children alone. Stop providing confusing them. Thank you for your time.
Cameron Roos. Caleb Castro. Brandon Little.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I'm here today to talk about school start times, but I would like to start by saying that I'm an active participant in a debate category that simulates real-life congressional hearings, and I have never been more proud of the outstanding responsibility, respectability, and decorum of my 15-year-old peers. I'm a high school sophomore here at CCSD, and despite the numerous people that I have interacted with from different high schools and grade levels, I can confidently say that almost none of them are proud to be a student here in Nevada. I know that's a tough thing to hear. Believe me, it's a tough thing to say. But when our school district is making national news for the wrong reasons, you can't really blame us. Now, I'm 15. I don't pretend to know everything or really anything about how about the complexities of how an education system works. But what I do know is that I'm tired. And I don't mean overworked or annoyed. I mean, I'm literally tired. Like, I wake up at 5 every morning to get to school. So I come here today in support of one thing that numerous scientific and economic studies have proven as something that will be beneficial to almost every aspect of education, something that will lay another stone on our growing path to being proud to be Nevada, and that is later school start times.
Yeah.
I have 2 major points. First, our economy. According to the RAND Corporation, starting middle and high school classes at no earlier than 8:30 a.m. is projected to boost Nevada's economy by $53 million within just 2 years. In 5 years, $219 million, and in 20, $4.1 billion. The question isn't how can we afford to make this change, it's how can we afford not to make this change. My second point relates to Nevada's reputation. Nevada is known as the state of Sin City, but it's also known as the state that ranks 49th in education. Wouldn't you know, starting school later is actually proven to reduce the rate of tardiness, chronic absenteeism, and drowsy driving. All of these things would improve the academic performance of our middle and high school students significantly. Nevada is also known as the state whose leading cause of death for kids aged 10 to 17 is suicide. Starting school later is proven to drastically improve the mental health and physical health of students who are in these very age groups. If we want to be known as a state that cares about the mental and physical well-being of our children, this is a step that we need to take, because no one is going to believe that we care about our kids if we continue to let something with such a detrimental impact take place. If we as a school district and state take this step for the benefit of our children and our future, we will be setting a precedent and showing our country that Nevada can put education first. But again, I'm 15. What do I know? I'm probably just too tired to think. Thank you.
My name is Caleb Castro. I'm a sophomore from Northwest Area Technical Academy. As you can tell by my attire, I took valuable time out of my day to be here because I felt like my opinion was pretty important to this board meeting. I'm here to talk about my input on the bus system. I believe that option A is the clear and only viable option. And it's very clear that this is the only viable option because it will cost CCSD nothing, right? And since you guys don't really kind of do much with the $2 billion that Joe Lombardo granted, besides keep it in your pockets, any other additions or modifications to the bus system, I don't agree with either, including the increased walk radius, because I personally have walked home with my friend to his house, which is only 3.5 miles away, and it was scorching hot. It was 95-degree weather, and that is not something that CCSD promises to its kids when it promises safety.
we don't want kids dying of heat stroke because they have to walk home because their system is more focused on saving money than providing the service that they promise. In addition, the magnet school, magnet schoolship, as a magnet school student myself, would be very, very bad because I personally rely on the bus to get to and from school because both my parents work 2 complicated hours to actually drop me off and pick me up. And I feel like this is the result of a poor lottery system by CCSD, because if anybody can get into any magnet school anywhere, regardless of how far they live, that is not a good system. If that is, they're supposed to be driven to and from school. I really feel that we, the students and the teachers and staff, should be the priority of CCSD, because without the students and the teachers, you don't have CCSD. But without a board of members, you still have CCSD. And to conclude my input, I'd like to say, as a heterosexual, biologically male Christian, I believe that this was not the right way to get your point across. This is not the messages of love that Jesus Christ teaches to us. And this is very, very embarrassing as a Christian.
Followed by Leela Mayer.
So I'm Brandon Little. I go to Northwest, same as Caleb Castro there. I'm a sophomore, 15. So first of all, in reference to other speakers today, freedom of religion, it goes both ways. You can't justify a policy for every CCSD student by citing the Bible. But like, I'm sure if any other religion did that to you, you'd be up in arms. And the fact that protecting kids has evolved into a culture war where both sides bring signs to argue, it's disgraceful. And as a Buddhist, this frightens me, but it's not what I came here to talk about. I too came here to talk about buses. When I first heard of this new proposal, I was shocked. CCSD doing something good for students? Thank God this wasn't true. I'm glad to hear that you were forced to do this by the board. And you're considering making it worse for students utilizing your bus system in career schools, such as the one I attend. Again, increasing the walk zone to 5 miles would severely increase the amount of kids walking early in the morning. Are you guys stupid or something? I personally am within the 5-mile walk radius, and I'm 3.5 miles away from school. It takes me an hour and a half to walk. That is not a good system. This would offset any good done by later start times because students would have to wake up at the same time, if not earlier. And in dark winter times, it's not safe. Like it's not safe for people my age to be walking when it's dark outside in Sin City. All right. So, and again, this is in me and Caleb's belief, this is a failure of the lottery system. And option A is, in my opinion, the only right answer, because this should be no debate if students were really the priority. There'd be no need for new bus drivers and a multi-million-dollar price tag, which would probably balloon even if it went through. Even if you do get the money in buses, how are you going to find hundreds of bus drivers with the way CCSD treats its staff? There's a reason why you guys are understaffed, and it's not because you generously pay your employees. Without the board, again, schools could still function. Can't say the same about teachers. It's clear to me and my peers that the priority of the CCSD's board is lining the pockets of executives such as Dara. In Dara's email, he sent only to students. I wonder why. He told us to listen to both sides of the teacher salary debate. What other side is there to listen to? For some reason, I don't see people rallying for Jara to get another $75,000 raise. We are CCSD with or without Jara. Thank you.
I have therapy for muted and appears Miss Nancy Malvich. I just want, are they present?
Nancy and Desi. Is Desi present? Desi, do you want to come on up? Desi, I see that based off of the item here that you included, or the just come on up on the information that you included regarding the non-agenda items. You want to come up to the podium. I'm gonna ask you not to mention any student's name for the reasons of privacy. And at this time. Oh, excuse me, unless it's your own student, forgive me. I'm asking you not to speak about any other students that was in the room. Thank you.
Maybe I need a translate. Buenas noches.
De un momento, por favor, necesito su nombre y el nombre de la señora que se lo decía para usted.
Mi nombre es Stacy Bernal.
And my name is Agnes Rodriguez.
Estoy aquí porque ya no sé qué hacer con la escuela de mi hija. Ella fue atacada sexualmente y hice un reporte con la policía. La policía dice que no hay evidencia, pero mi hija fue atacada 2 veces. Hay videos, pero ellos no me dijeron que no hay evidencia. Hubieron testigos también que miraron que mi hija fue atacada por este niño y me fui a la oficina de la directora y ella no ha tomado acción, no han suspendido al niño y nomás me decían antes, oh, esperemos la evidencia, necesitamos evidencia. Ahora me dieron la copia del reporte de los videos que supuestamente sale mi hija caminando sola. Entonces, yo no sé qué es lo que están escondiendo. Yo no sé que la escuela está esperando que este niño viole a mi hija para tomar acción. Han habido más víctimas del mismo niño y la escuela no ha hecho nada.
Sí, en un momento a
Esto LOG. No está bien, no te preocupes. Wow, entiendo tu frustración. Okay, so she is having an issue with Clark County School District. There's a particular school. Her daughter has been sexually assaulted twice. There is evidence, there are videos, there are witnesses. She actually went to the principal to discuss what had happened, and they just keep telling her that they're going to look for evidence, they're going to get, see what they can find. She made a police report. Videos have been presented, but for whatever reason, they only show the videos where she's walking by herself. This kid has also been accused of sexually assaulting other females, and nothing is being done by the school.
Otra cosa que quiero decir es que supuestamente hicieron un safety plan para mi hija, pero ellos no están siguiendo el plan porque este niño se supone que debe de estar con un adulto y mi hija se lo ha encontrado 2 veces a él solo o con sus amigos. La primera vez que lo encontró, el niño la trató de intimidar y como que venía hacia ella, entonces mi hija salió asustada, me llamó y me dijo, ven a recogerme. Y a este niño y tengo miedo que me haga algo.
A safety plan was put in place by the school where he is supposed to be always supervised by an adult, especially when she is walking home to school, to her home. However, he has crossed paths with her twice already to where she's having to call her mom to pick her up because she's scared because he is by himself. He is not being supervised by an adult as they had told her.
Ahora mi hija está yendo con consejería, mi niña está de depresión, mi niña ya no quiere ir a la escuela, mi niña tiene miedo, yo ya no sé por dónde buscar ayuda.
I don't know what to do. My daughter is currently in counseling. She doesn't want to go to school. Wow. I don't even know what to say. This is the case of a lot of people, and I was sexually assaulted too when I was little. She doesn't know what to say.
Daisy, Si me da permiso, tengo una personaje de CCSD que quiere hablar con ustedes, pues se determina su documento.
Puedo decir el nombre de la escuela porque también quiero ser público el nombre de la escuela para que si hay más víctimas de niñas que por favor hablen, que no se queden calladas. La escuela se llama Cadwallader Middle School.
Oh. So I want to name it. This is actually a middle school. It's called Rollover Middle School. And she wants the parents to be aware because she wants more girls to come and speak up on this. Because there are other girls that have been assaulted. She believes that there's even more girls that are being assaulted by this child.
Otra cosa, las amigas de mi hijas que fueron acosadas por este niño, una de ellas le advirtió a mi hija, ten cuidado porque él pega duro, él me tocó a mí, le dijo a mi hija, yo tengo los mensajes, él me tocó a mí, le dijo, y yo me defendí, le pegué y él me pegó una cachetada que hasta me tiró mi arete.
One of the girls actually texted her daughter and told her, just please be careful with this kid because he is very aggressive. He broke me once, I tried to fight him back and he slapped me so hard that my earring popped off.
Con esas pruebas que yo le proveí a la policía y ellos todavía no han tomado acción.
And I even took that evidence to the police and nothing has been done. To CCSD police.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Sí. Sí, sí, a ver, ¿qué dijiste?
O sea, yo me pregunto porque ellos dicen, oh, es la política proteger a la cosa, pues no protegen a las niñas, no protegen a las víctimas. ¿Cuántas niñas van a esperar que sean acosadas por estudiantes?
So what is the politics at CCSD? To protect the abuser or to protect the victim?
Un personaje de CCSD está listo para hablar con usted. Si la tal vez necesitar un traductor para traducirle a usted. ¿Tiene su amiga, dice? Dice que tiene alguien para traducirle. Okay.
Can you interpret that? When you said, can you interpret it?
Where did she have to go? She said. Oh. No, she said that she got
Lila? Nancy, okay, Nancy. And then Lila, please.
Good evening, board members of CCSD. My name is Nancy. My daughter is a student at Ralph Cadwallader Middle School. I will be speaking of minors and I'm not using any names for their safety. If you need names, I can email the information to you off the public record. On August 31st, my daughter filed a witness statement with the behavior strategist, Mr. Members, because she witnessed a male student sexually harass her friend. He moaned, rubbed her body inappropriately while forcing her to hug him in the courtyard of her school. On September 1st, I spoke with Assistant Principal Ms. Martin because my child felt intimidated by this male student who entered her classroom, one he is not assigned to, and stared at her for several moments. She was afraid he would sexually harass her or retaliate because of her telling on him the day before. She was afraid because she heard that he harassed another girl, and this girl hit the male student while he sexually harassed her, and he hit her back. As a badge CCSD parent volunteer, I offered to volunteer as a hall monitor or anywhere needed to assist with keeping my child safe at school, and I was denied. I also gave permission to Ms. Martin for my daughter to give a statement to CCSD police, and she was never contacted by a police officer. On September 7th, my daughter went to the office because the male student was harassing another one of her friends. This is now the third victim. He inappropriately rubbed her thighs without her consent. I spoke with Assistant Principal Ms. Martin again, because at this point, my daughter was removed from instruction 3 times due to this male student sexually harassing her friends. She's afraid to use the restroom at school because she sees him wandering the halls alone. She's afraid to be alone at school, and this is not okay. Ms. Martin assured me that he was being chaperoned at all times, and this has not been true or consistent.
In fact, just 2 days ago, he was wandering the halls alone. On September 18th, I spoke with Ms. Martin again because my child was removed from instruction due to another friend, the 4th victim now. This friend was being sexually harassed by a male student. He repeatedly asked her for her personal information and was moaning at her. Today, September 28th, the male student was reported exposing his penis to another student on school grounds in the design and modeling classroom. I am here today because all of these incidents have happened on CCSD school grounds at Ralph Caldwell Middle School during school hours while teachers are present. There is a sexual harassment policy with CCSD, and Cadwalader Middle School isn't taking the appropriate measures to keep my daughter safe. I'm sorry, I'm so emotional. They're not keeping my daughter safe from a male student who is sexually harassing at the school. I am seeking help from the board to execute an emergency removal of this student. I have named all the yellow paper. Please advise how I should proceed to ensure my child's safety at school. Thank you, and I appreciate your time.
All the police. Nancy, thank you. I have some members of staff who will be speaking to you. After Leila Mayer, we have Lydia Dominguez and Gabriel Lee. Here. Lydia.
Hi, good evening. For the record, it's Lila Mahar. I was here a couple weeks ago, and I'd like to say that CCSD spends money on the wrong things. With school violence off the charts, as we just heard from the past 2 testimonies, record number of vacancies. CCSD is spending money to go on holiday to Hawaii and Florida under the guise of teacher recruitment. Do you think educated people don't read the news and know how truly awful CCSD is? How many teachers actually were recruited from these vacations? Why not go to less glamorous locales like Ohio or Illinois to recruit staff? It's because those locations don't look as good as one's Instagram feed and are boring. The district just lost 1.4 million in a romance scheme. How truly embarrassing. This school district spending money on transing children and gender education does not help the greater population of students learn how to read and write, which is not happening. People keep asking, why did the public wait 5 years to push back against this bill 5138? Well, we were busy with COVID and fighting against mandated vaccinations. We only have so much energy to go around. Now the problem has come to a head, and here we are. Unfortunately, our puppet president weaponized the FBI with Merrick Garland, declaring parents who speak at board meetings terrorists. Is it under any wonder why more parents and citizens don't get involved? The parents here and of the greater CCSD body are not homophobic or hate gay people. The parents here just want their children to learn the 3 R's. Public libraries hold all kinds of books that any child can get checked out with no restrictions, no age restrictions. School libraries should not have books readily available that talk about sexual topics. If I didn't know any better, I would say the school board is trying to destroy the school board system. Just like Shasta Bodine in San Francisco ruined San Francisco, and the DA in Los Angeles ruined Los Angeles, and Lori Lightfoot who ruined Chicago. If I wasn't mistaken, I would believe that the school board are disciples of Saul Alinsky and the Weather Underground. Yes. Given the previous 2 testimonies, it seems very apparent that CCSD is greatly failing its students, if not outright jeopardizing their lives. CCSD is ruining the school system of Las Vegas, or should I say, they are burning what's left. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Hi, my name is Lydia Dominguez for the record. I'm here about an assignment that my son had at Cadwallader Middle School. I had no idea we had so many parents talking about Cadwallader today, but to be honest, it's probably because of the things they're learning in school. They're having so many sexual assault issues there. So my son came home and said he was reading a book in class, popcorn reading, that he was uncomfortable with the book. And I didn't know what the book was, and he handed me his assignment. But let me just read a little bit of what I found in this book. This is popcorn reading out loud. Last night, he watched as his father bathed in the new child. This was much the same, the fragile skin, the smoothing water, the gentle motion of his hands slipping with the soap. The relaxed, peaceful smile of a woman's face reminded him of Gabriel being bathed, and the nakedness too. It was against the rules for children or adults to look at another's nakedness, but the rule did not apply to new children or old. Jonas was glad. It was a nuisance to keep oneself covered while changing for games, and required an apology if one had glimpsed at another's body was always awkward. He couldn't see why it was necessary. He liked the feeling of the safety here in the warm and quiet room. He liked the expressed trust of the woman's face as he laid in the water, unprotected, exposed, and free. And that was with him bathing someone. It was part of the book. And so he brought home this assignment. And this assignment was talking about the stirrings, which is the feelings that this book is about. And it says, we have discovered when adolescents begin to feel a strong feelings of romantic love that come with puberty, this society requires them to take a pill that eliminates those feelings. Think about long-term results of this action on the lives of each individual and on society in general. And so it asks if you advantages and disadvantages about the stirrings. And one of the answers my son wrote was for advantages, emotional connection, pleasure, disadvantages, erotic, distraught, a standard no person can hope to fill, loss of feeling. And then he made a note, I don't like this book. I mean, this is really, I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it with my own eyes. I wouldn't understand what's happening here, but this is being used in literature in the classroom. This is being used as part of a learning tool. We need to just go back and look at what are we using in our classrooms, not just what's only in the library, accessible in the library, but what are these teachers utilizing to learn in the classroom? Thank you so much for your time.
Lorena? What's the last name? What's the last name? Lorena Levy? That's a different one. And Fry Grisola? Or Chai Grisola?
Hello, I'm Lorna Bagley. I'm Lorena with I, so more like Lorna do cookies. Hello, board and administration members. I want you to know how much I love and appreciate our friends who are teachers, support staff, and administration members. They are wonderful at their jobs and deserve more than lip service for community support and pay. Please give our teachers the pay raise they are long overdue. One aspect of why I add my voice to the discussion is because many school personnel are supportive of transgender, non-binary, and gender diverse students through policy 5138. They support all students of all diverse backgrounds, and many families are thankful for the support that is provided. The existing gender diverse policy helps save lives and provides a framework to continue protection of transgender, non-binary, and gender diverse students. I appreciate all of the teachers, administration, librarians, and all staff that help provide resources and information to these students and families, including books about different people, cultures, and life experiences. It's really noisy. Are they being loud or is it just me being loud?
Allow me one moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna ask that anybody, excuse me. I'm gonna ask only the individual who's on the podium to please speak. If you would like to have side conversations, please go outside and have those. Thank you. Please continue.
To the students and families of diverse communities, I see you and I support you, and will continue to help stop bigotry and removal of information from public schools. If parents don't know your child is part of the LGBTQ+ community, that is their failing as a parent, not indoctrination by anyone, especially schools. It means that they have not let their child into their heart. As Harvey Gilligan said, people don't come out, they let you in. I pray that you learn to accept all members of our community. With the October 1st remembrance this weekend, one of our many strengths as a community is diversity of all types. Board and administration, thank you for your continuing to support our state and federal laws, as well as existing school policies to support transgender, non-binary, and all diverse students within our schools. Thank you.
Ms. Chai Cristobal. Got that right? Okay, please correct me here. Keisha Jenner. Urania Hampton.
Hi, my name is Shai Cristobal with Records. Today I'm here to speak about an experience I had at Liberty High School. So last week, there was this thing that we had like a movie fest or whatever, and I was in the club and I had participated. And there was this teacher who I had previously had problems with before because she had made rude remarks on my body that other students had to tell me after I had left the classroom. So I already had like kind of like a bone, I think, with the teacher, but not too much. You know, I said hi, I'm a good student. I never really do anything out of the norm, but after she had made me feel uncomfortable on the Pretty Fest, I had spilled something, and her attitude, her name is Miss Van Ness, her attitude and the way that she had like went about it, there was plenty of students that had walked by and laughed instead of like offering help or offering any support. And another adult had walked past and laughed instead of like, you know, offering any support or help. And Miss Van Ness comes by and just slams this box of Clorox wipes onto the table and starts telling me all this list of things that I should be doing. I said, I think I can handle it just with the Clorox wipes. And she gives me like this really smug smirk and walks away. And the next day, I had told my mother about it, and she, of course, didn't really like the way that the teacher talked to me. I didn't either. So we had a plan to go to the school, organize a meeting with the teacher so that we could talk about it and then how we can like fix the problems that other students are feeling the way I am. Because I'm 100% sure, almost 110% sure that other students absolutely feel the way that I feel about this teacher. She's very rude and very passive aggressive, and it's just not something that you teach or want to be an example to our new generation or youth. We had run up to her to want to book an appointment, and my mom had like found her, and I went to talk to the teacher because we were really concerned at the time just so that we could find an appointment. My mom had signed in, did all the proper protocols to be on campus. And then the teacher, after I had told her how I felt, I was very respectful. I was not very like rude about it. She had brushed us off and told us that this wasn't like her thing. She said, if you guys could go over there. And I don't think that's respectful at all to any parent that doesn't know what over there means and any student that doesn't know what like over there means. So as she was walking away, we were walking with her, asking her like, Miss, is there is there something that we can do now? Because I wasn't feeling very well, like about the whole situation. And then she proceeds to say that she's getting attacked. Help, like quote by quote, help me, I'm being attacked by this Black woman, help, I'm being attacked. And then this whole commotion starts. I end up getting suspended for quote unquote body language, but I don't think that's in the code of conduct anywhere. And my mom gets trespassed.
I'm sorry, your time is up, but I see that your mom is that your mom? Maybe she can continue the public comments, or you can submit them in writing, and we will. There is someone ready to speak to you, just a staff member who ready to talk to both of them. So, please go ahead. Aisha.
So my name is Maisha. This is my daughter Cheyenne. And this is a little tough for me because I grew up being discriminated against in high school. I grew up being always bullied. I grew up being discriminated because I was a Black woman and also boisterous. The day Cheyenne came to me, it just reminded me of what I went through all over again in high school. Being discriminated against, being bullied. So I took the proper protocols to set up a meeting with this teacher. And based off me doing the things the right way, she again reminded me, now in 2023, we're still having the same issues because of the color of my skin. I didn't attack her. She yelled, "Help, this Black woman is attacking me." And I looked at her and said, "I'm not attacking you, but don't you use that white supremacist on me." And because of how I reacted based off her verbiage, her discrimination, and her racial profiling, I got trespassed. My daughter is a senior. She never been suspended. They trespassed me because I had a voice for her. She would tell me stories of Ashley, saying little things to her ever since last year at Liberty High School. Based off me going up there, doing things the right way, I get trespassed, she gets suspended, no one reached out to me. I did my research. I looked through the code of conduct and made sure, one, I didn't violate anything, nor did my daughter. I reached out to the principal after we received an email of our disciplinary actions that were never explained. No one ever consulted us when we were at the campus. Yet, granted, there was a minority support system there also trying to calm us down. But again, no one came up to us, no one got our information, and no one even cared to know why I was up there. But they did side with her because she flagged. I'm being attacked by this Black woman. Did not say anything to make her feel like I was going to attack her. I'm a single parent, a domestic violence victim. And to go through all this stuff all over again just shows how corrupt the school system is. We don't have a voice. And it's 2023. My daughter shouldn't have got suspended. For what? Because she was right there based off how I reacted. Now the events that she has throughout her senior year that I waited all year for, I won't be able to attend because I trespassed it for her voice. We have to come to an agreement and stop this. Where do we go from here?
Thank you for your public comment. I'm sorry you're experiencing this. Staff member is in the back, ready to speak to you to help you with any additional questions. Thank you. Urania Hansen. Still are you present? Followed by Ronnie. And then Felix.
My name is Irina Hansen, and I'm addressing the school board as a mother, citizen, and a candidate for 2024 mayoral race. I insist that policy 5138 be repealed. The adoption of this policy serves as undeniable evidence that the school board is ill-equipped to safeguard the best interest of any child, especially those with unique needs. I empathize deeply with the emotions these children confront daily when grappling with the feeling that their gender is incorrect. However, it's at the drafting and implementation of this policy, as well as the potential irreversible harm it may inflict on children, that I draw the line. Section Roman numeral 3, subsection A4 mandates that each gender support plan complies with the Nevada Equal Enjoyment of Places of Public Accommodations law. It remains unclear how this statute, which ensures equal enjoyment of any place of public accommodation without discrimination, translates to students with diverse gender identities or expressions being entitled to shower in the locker rooms of the opposite sex.
No.
Section Roman numeral 4, subsection H, enforces the aforementioned requirement and presents 3 options related to access for restrooms, locker rooms, and overnight field trips that these children must navigate. It is incomprehensible to me how any rational individual could believe that equal enjoyment law applies to this scenario. or that these options are appropriate for vulnerable children to decide upon. In my opinion, these children should use facilities consistent with their birth assigned sex until gender change is legally recognized by court order. This aligns with the requirement in the policy before the district court can modify a student's name or gender on official records. While these are rhetorical questions, they are vital to highlighting the absolute idiocies of this policy. Does anyone genuinely believe it would be in the best interest of a young girl struggling with her emotions to demand that she can shower in the boys' locker room? Similarly, would young women on their parents believe that a young boy grappling with his emotions should be entitled to shower in the girls' locker room? This place has been in place for 5 years, and last year, there were approximately 190 students with gender support plans. Did any of these students insist on showering in locker rooms of the opposite sex? I highly doubt it.
Ronnie, I'm sorry. Your time is off. Your time is over. Can we please have Ronnie? Ronnie, Valence, your time better.
Thank you.
Ronnie? Ronnie Butte? Buttle? Ronnie Buttle? Present. Felix? Mikalski? Virginia? I think there's 2 people for this one part. Joaquin, Virginia, and Juliana. Will you both speak separately or together? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Virginia Joaquin. My daughter attends Cadwalader Middle School. She is one of the victims of this boy. There are 5 victims that we know of. Today, my daughter's friend, who is a boy, texted her saying, "This child has just exposed himself to me during class." I am beyond frustrated with the school. My daughter has called me every single day. This incident started September 12th, where he followed her to her locker, demanding for her address. Where do you live? Tell me where you live. On the 15th, the 18th, the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th, I have been at CAD talking to Miss High. Miss Martin has called me. These are all assistant principals there. My daughter came down at 6:31 last night crying. I just saw this child riding his bike outside of our house. I don't know how he got our address, but I guarantee you tomorrow, first thing I will be doing is going to police. I am so over the harassment. 5 victims. Miss High told me on Monday that this child is not supposed to be alone on this campus without an adult. He is being escorted only 2 classes and lunch. I don't know where he goes. I don't care. My child has missed, I don't know how many classes. She originally had 2 classes with him, English, I believe, and science. He's still in the science class. She called me in hysterics on Wednesday. He looked at her. He told her, "Ew, it's you." Then proceeded to smirk at her because he knew he was getting under her skin. My daughter's in therapy. She's having nightmares because of this child. All they say is, "We can do a no contact order." What has that done? Nothing. He is friends with another child who had tried to convince my 11-year-old daughter to have sex, then proceed to tell her, "If you love me, you'll do it." I'm giving you to the end of day today. I'm gonna look for a new girlfriend. If I don't find one, then I guess I'll give you a second chance. Gave the emails, forwarded it to the school. No contact order, not supposed to talk about it with his friends, yet all his friends are whispering about my child and staring at her during lunch.
Ms. Marroquin, your time is up. We will have a staff member speak to you.
See the pattern? Your trans policies raise up sexual predators.
It's not your time any longer to provide public comments, sir.
Ridiculous.
You've already provided your public comments. You continue.
Gender, the way you're doing it. If it's gender, it's the way you're doing it. It's not transgender.
Please,
Keep it
wait for the audience.
Boy.
Please,
It is
please
a
stop
boy.
engaging. Please stop engaging. Please stop engaging. Now, Felicia Hayes. Felicia Hayes.
Sexual immorality. There's gender. Just say.
All right, everybody. Moving on to item 5.01, the upcoming meeting of the Board of Trustees. To be clear, Wednesday, October 4th, the work session has been canceled. However, there will be a meeting on October 12th at 5 p.m. Trustee Guzman. Thank you, President Garcia Morales. I move to adjourn. Thank you, Trustee Brooks. Second. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Guzman and second by Trustee Brooks. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Yeah.
Trustee Williams. Aye. Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead and see the. Thank you, colleagues. The motion passes 6-0. The time is 8:56 p.m. The meeting is adjourned.
Now I can go to the gym with your legs.